Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers! Good morning, Ernie. All right, well, this is what we're going to do today. First, we have to sing, because we have to sing. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Morning Breakfast Clubbers, morning Breakfast Clubbers. Chow, 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 we all want chow. That is what we're here for now. Boom. Okay, we got that out of the way. Thank you. Okay.
You don't even say,
gentlemen,
good food, good meat, good God, let's eat. Yeah, you are wrong.
A gentleman named Doug Hodges is West Side Bitcoin. He's the guy that really took up a bunch of the slack. Who is yakking? Oh, slap you guys around. He's the guy that took up where Morpheus left off. Morpheus is in jail, so obviously they killed Bitcoin in Phoenix, not. But he has at least 4 ATMs around the valley. You can go up and put in cash and get Bitcoin, or Bitcoin and get cash. The only limitation is he keeps it down, I think, $2,000 per transaction, and you want to make sure that you stay under, I don't know, 3,000. They do what the hell they want. I mean, they're going to go after whoever they want to. But he's been very open about it. Now, he calls himself West Side Bitcoin because Morpheus did the East Side a lot. So he just said, all right, well, I'll just do West Side. Well, now he's all side. So he's getting a lot of orders and everything, and he may not be able to get here in time today. He may come late, leave early, do whatever. He was going to do a PowerPoint and put a TV out here. But really, I hate when these guys do that because your brain explodes, and I'm like, seriously. So last night or night before, I was out here with Dr. Phranq. He's in there. I'll be out here in a little bit to get y'all trumped up. But I was going through, like, this is the end about the 7th blackboard when I had my 18 hours of Colin Cantrell from Nexus Crypto. And it's blah, 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 explaining the flow and the blah, blah, and the math and the philosophy of the blah. And I'll tell you, it's like, okay. But if you understand the base content, and Phranq kept interrupting, he's going, yeah, but what about? I go, man, I'm building it. You gotta have a foundation first. I mean, you gotta, So as you go through this, you start to understand the power of the technology. All it does is with math, it allows you to be able to transfer anything that represents something. Just code. It represents a portion of a thing. So how much did you get and what value is that? Well, it's whatever somebody will pay for it. Well, it's getting to be a lot now that they'll pay for it. Okay. What was last month when we came up, Bitcoin was, getting to $5,000 or something, and it was going to be a thing. And that's from nothing. Right now, let me push the button. Bitcoin is selling per Bitcoin $7,300. Why? One of the big reasons it shot up is they're just now talking about they're going to be able to trade futures on Bitcoin on Wall Street. Well, that's how you turn gold into paper. Once you start selling representations of and everybody demand to kind of go, Bitcoin is going to go to the moon if they do this. Well, they're getting ready to do it, and here they're doing it. Yeah, come on in. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to do a little bit, because a lot of people were expecting, Doug to be in. If he makes it great, well, Phranq just, been buying and trying to secure and put in and make it to where they can't see in forever and all. Then he found out, I got to do that with another device? I got to have another thing? I got to go through this problem? My God. So tomorrow afternoon, we're doing Remember the 5th of November party, watching some football and hanging out. But a lot of this is going to be for the techno guys. If you're doing Bitcoin, I encourage you to come, and you want to, because a lot of the guys are going to be here. We're going to be talking about some other projects and stuff that we're doing in crypto. But but that's, kind of what this party is about. So it's a remember. So if you're not really all teched up, you might not get a lot out of it other than watching football. Yeah.
What are the charges against Morpheus? What's he in prison for?
I don't even know. One is that he's a felon in possession of ammunition. That's what they really got him for. Because he had like 60 rounds on a shelf from roommate left or something.
If you go to the court case docs website I've got all the documents there. You can read the charges. They're right there.
Well, we did the link to it on his update, and you can go in there. It's basically for money laundering or money transfer without a license.
Right.
So if you didn't get the Crown's permission slip to give somebody Bitcoin for money. I mean, it's just they're just making this crap up as they go along.
Yeah.
This is the problem. What has happened is they want to define Bitcoin as something that they can regulate. So what they have is it currency? Is it an asset? Is it property? Is it a commodity? Okay? So they don't know. They don't even know sure. They go, it's something that it's something. We'll grant that to something, and we control everything, so it's something that we control. I mean, they're making this up as they go along. Well, what they anticipate is they have you under pressure, and we got this 10 years because you had ammunition, because you had a felony, you smoked dope or did whatever the hell you did in the 80s or something, and you have, this ammunition, so there's 10 years, and you better cooperate. We need you to cooperate. So his attorneys are coming in, and they just want you to cooperate. Well, he knows what that means. You're their bitch for the rest of your life, okay? And he goes, I think I'll decline, all right? Well, they're going to throw the book at him. They're going to make examples of it and everybody, but they don't understand Morpheus. Anybody that knows him, even though he may be free, his mind would be in this tight, closed, like prison planet cage. He couldn't stand it. That's just how there are prisons, outside of being in a cell, That is Morpheus. And Bitcoin helped him break free of paperwork. It broke free. This represented this mindset. And he's getting all Buddhist up and reading everything and doing. He just sent us a letter that Donna and Gina typed in, and we just posted a couple of days ago on the site. And in there was, he goes, I wasn't going to answer him, but this gives a good example to do. This guy wrote him a letter. And he's a hater. He goes, you're rat in a cage, and you deserve to be there. And quit hitting on Donna. And Ernie and Phranq are scumbags. And it's got me because he said, love something, whatever. So it's like, seriously. So he takes the opportunity to write him back. And we published all 3 letters. To all of us, from this guy, and him to that. And I wouldn't. Who cares? But he referenced it in his first letter. So okay, fine, we got to put it up. So Gina went through the painful reading handwriting, and did it. It's not too bad, but it's not too great either. Probably better than mine. So he's enjoying himself in there as much as he can. He is in charge of the library something. He's doing something in the library, so that gives him something to do. And every felon and security guard and everybody on the planet there's all cryptoed up now. They're getting, especially as it's going to 7,000. Any of these guys that bought it, and it went up 2,000 the last month. Who's their new best friend now? Okay. Oh no, we know exactly why you're in here, because when he did it, it was on April 20th, 420. 420, he was arrested because drug thing, whatever. So they arrest him, find no drugs, no guns, some bullets. And that was it. So then they get him in, and it was $1,200 in. It's over $7,000 now. Mm-hmm. So I want my Bitcoin back, sons of bitches. Some lawyers that go after it on a RICO civil seizure of getting mine and so on, hell, they could take half of the Bitcoin value and they still make a shitload of money. I mean, so there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. The Michael Schoen, that some of you may know, he is one of the sons of the Schoen that founded U-Haul. So he's got, some money, lives in Paradise Valley over here.
He's a great guy.
He called me and said, they go after the least of us. They go after those who aren't able to defend themselves, and I'm pissed off. So what he has offered, $10,000 cash to an expert to testify about Bitcoin at Morpheus' trial. So I went to the Texas Bitcoin conference this last weekend, and trying to spread it out to the few people that I trusted to give me somebody that's not going to turn to the state and whatever, but at least give an accurate depiction of why this technology is a viable option for people just like Morpheus. People coming into the system, either they don't like paperwork, or they can't get the paperwork, or they got felonies, or they can't get a job, and the system has screwed them. Here's their opportunity, and no, you're not allowed. So I, am looking on that now because we got a month before the trial. So it's hard to pick someone. I've interviewed a lot of these guys. They're just, they get way too complex. What this whole thing is about is the ability for you to do banking, have something of value that you can move around wherever, and they can't stop it, they can't seize it, they can't garnish it, they can't track it. They're tracking, they're doing more of that. But, there's a lot of things that you can do, but you have to take full responsibility as the person in charge of your money. If you don't, somebody else will, and they'll go, it's mine now. So they go, well, that's not, I can't, and you're the security, and what about, and I want the gold of, fine, and keep doing that. But you don't have these other advantages. So, but I want all of that, and I want to be safe and secure and be able to sue and have the man do and get and kind of going, Bitcoin's not for you. Bitcoin is for people that take responsibility and understand that they are going to have to keep numbers. They're going to have to do it privately. They're going to have to put it off chain. You got to understand the technology to know how much responsibility you have. Because in banking, it's your money. You just can't have it now. And so when you go to the bank, and some of us go to...
It's not your money, you just get to use their money.
Yeah, and it's a whole attitude. You're lucky you get as much as we let you have. So this mindset is changing in the younger generations, and a lot of other people have been screaming this forever, like a lot of us, libertarians and so on. And they go, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do this? And how are you going to do that? Well, then we do it like this. And they go, you're not allowed to do that. This is the mentality that's coming, but it's going fast. There is a lot of stuff that's changing right now. Now, I'm going to have Phranq, in a couple of minutes come up and kind of give you a lot of the news. But I tell you, on my way to Texas, this is what happened. Well, at Texas, I'll tell you this. In the Bitcoin space, you have two types. There's all the Bitcoin stuff, and then you have what you call hard forks or alternative currencies, or they're doing other things. And the reason is this. There's a philosophy. They go, wow, I watch the World Series or Monday Night Football or something. I'm seeing the IBM commercial of the Internet of Everything, and we're going to track and do and this and that and slave and oh, by the way, we got to add blockchain. We're doing it in the IBM. We're using another blockchain. They keep using this blockchain thing, and the reason is because the accountants and the tax attorneys and the administrative people and the database keeper, all this stuff is now math. And then you have anything to do with artificial intelligence, it's just freaking math. When you do a transaction, what if, instead of writing a check that goes in and they check it and they process it and it goes here and it transfers and then at the end of the night they change in the batch of this bank to that bank and then they do their little LIBOR, what was the lending overnight interest rate of change of Fed money supply and blah, 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 blah. If you do a Bitcoin transaction, everything is in that single transaction. Where it went, who sent it, you can program it. It could be weaponized money, which is what our Pirates Without Borders, why I was there, was warning of. I go, if you put this to where the government can weaponize this money, they can find and surveil. There's enough information every transaction. They get their freaking Big Bubba dream of, we're in a, what the hell do they call that? A cashless society. We track everything, nirvana for the man. And I'm going, no. I need pirate money. I need pirate communications. I need pirate currency. So all the guys that I'm interviewing this week and next week are different companies promising this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, we'll go get Ernie will interview. We'll talk about it. I'll expose you. That's what I'll do, man. I don't think I'm going to be your bitch. You come on. You better be doing what you're saying. LavaBit, which was the email company that Edward Snowden used, the NSA showed up and said, we need all the server and backdoor and track, and people come in, and he goes, no. Well, the law is under the Patriot Act, you can't even tell people that you're doing it. You just have to do it. Get over it. So he knew a lot of people were using LavaBit, trusting him not to do this kind of thing. So instead of complying, he just shut down his business. He goes, I don't do business anymore. They go, you violated it. No, I didn't. I didn't tell anybody why I shut down my business. I just shut down my business. you know? So you're like, damn it. So he was right up on the edge of the law. I mean, they didn't like this none too much. When he did that, everybody kind of got saved, you know, that was using that. They whistleblowers get nailed. Well, now he's back. He's come back. He's doing lava bit again. He wants to do it even with more kind of securities and stuff that they can't even do what they were doing, and he doesn't keep any information. It just goes and it wipes and all this other stuff. So I have him on the show. Well, we'll see if it's going to be as pirate as I want it to be. This is the battle. Can you operate and live and transact and exchange property and deeds to it, licenses of it, all that, without the man approving or being the blue pages of the white pages? You guys even know what I'm talking about. I talk to these young kids, I go, how many people even know what blue pages is? And they're like, I guess they're blue, right? You know. So for those of you who don't know, in the front of the white pages is a little sliver of blue pages. It's all these government departments of. When I first started becoming active after my father in the late 80s, I went to the blue page. All right, what's the Department of Commerce? Okay, and the Department of the Census. Okay, I go. So I call them. They're like, what? You know, so I'm going, this mentality is what has to change. What's happening in Bitcoin is they're coming in and saying all of these functions of government, the county recorder, the businesses being able to comply with the reg of we got the record of the sent to the whatever, and the customer know-it-all of we got know-it-all of know-all. You know, we have a blockchain mechanism for that they don't have to hire 5 or 6 accountants and you know, and bean counters of the complying officers of lawyers or whatever. The software does it for them, and it scales almost infinitely. So you know, all of a sudden a company gets 10 times as big. You don't need 10 times as many people, or 5 times, or 20 times as many compliance officers. All you need is crank another dial on your software. And then when it starts getting in, when they do analytics of a lot of this stuff, which they're doing predictive markets, is where the AI comes in. So math and artificial intelligence, they speak the same language. This is going to go much faster than people realize. I am of the opinion that there is a split in philosophy. How can we use blockchain technology to comply with all these government regulations, make it faster, cheaper, easier, and we're all compliant and we make more money and better services and peace? The other side is like, we don't give a shit what the government said because we're dealing globally. You know, I'm not going to piecemeal software to, you know, it's different in every one, a couple hundred countries. You know, screw that. We're going straight to the market. We're going, what do you want? What do you need? How are you going to use it? Boom, we have that for that. So this is where the line is. Texas Bitcoin Conference is more the compliers. They're the ones that are coming in and say, hey man, look at this great deal I got for the company of compliance with this one regulation. If it doesn't cost you, you don't have to hire 15 more guys. You just download this software, blip like this, and the data stream comes in, it does, and you're done. And your refrigerator gets to order, you know, groceries from Amazon. You don't have to do it. And Jarvis is there, and all of a sudden you get in your car and it takes you to work, and kind of and after a certain point of time, you become the slave. You're working to maintain them. You know? I mean, if you're maintaining the government or you're maintaining the AI, what's the freaking difference, you know? So this is where we're going. I can see the pirate mentality that we have is, you know, all of this is in service of the individual. And if we don't have, that's where I can see I can have the most impact when I talk to these people. Because if we don't have the goal of empowering the individual, well, then you're just a, you know, a cog in the machine of kick my ass. So that's where this battle really is. It's up here. You can weaponize or you can featureize these technologies to do certain things. Serve the man or serve the individual. Now, for people that can write it and do the serve the man, the companies, and make a profit, they can make hundreds of millions of dollars in a day. They come out and they said, it's called initial coin offering. I do ICO of my crypto that does this kind of, boom, everybody buys it. They got $200 million and said, thank you for playing. Now, a few years ago, MateSafe, decentralized internet, which is still plugging along, they did like 7 million in 5 hours. Now there's another one called Filecoin that's a competitor with that for decentralizing everything. They raised $200 million. I think it was more, like 300. I looked and it started and it was 200 million. And it kept going. I'm like, holy crap. And what's that money for? Well, it's based on a promise. Well, then you hire all these developers. They come in and do their thing, like Nexus and all that. So all of this is what where do you invest? How do you invest? Where do you put it? How do you keep it away from the man? Is it on paper? Is it in an electronic device? Does it go in the safe? Is it destroyed when I stop it with my foot? I don't know. So these are the things that Phranq, is trying to figure out too. So the more deeper you get in, it's one more master's degree you need to understand. Now there are companies that will do this for you. I have on an exchange called Bittrex. I put in $1,000 in Bitcoin, and I wanted to prove a point. All of these alt currencies, they shoot to the moon, they crash, they go up and down and up and down, and some of them maintain, or some of them keep going up, like Ethereum or something. Why? My thing was, I go, I need the features, and the ones that I want the most are privacy, anonymity, speed, low transaction fees, all these things that Bitcoin promised me in the beginning. So I go, all right, which ones are those? I take $1,000 and I take my Bitcoin, I go, I want some of that, and that, and that, and that, a bunch of that, a little bit more of that. Now that $1,000, it went up to like $4,700. Now it's down to like $3,000 or something like that. But it went up based on the philosophy, and a bunch of these others went down. So the point that I was trying to make, and I think I've been successful in relaying this, is that freedom has value. The anonymity, the privacy, the speed, the low transaction, to be able to do it myself in my own banking if I don't need them, has value. And who is emphasizing that more than anybody else, making a big deal out of I don't do paperwork? Morpheus. But they're coming after, they think, you'll be cooperating at the end when we got decades of we're going to kick your ass. And he's like, yeah, not so much, we're going to trial. That's what they're worried about. Discovery. How'd they do it? Who did it? What are they charging them with? What is it going to be? This thing? And you got a precedent now. They say Bitcoin is this. Oh, we say it's that. And it keeps working its way up until finally it's govcoin.goldmansucks. You're screwed. Okay? So this is what I see is happening. Bitcoin forked in what they call SegWit, which is segregated witness. It was kind of did something to the code, made more room, put more transactions on because it had limited area. How many transactions? Example. Bitcoin as it sits now was, or up until recent fork, could only do 7 transactions a second. Well, Visa does like a billion a second. All right? If you want to move over, you're not going to be able to. It doesn't have the volume. So there were different ways that they can increase this volume, but they kept holding it down because all the transactions go into a pool. It's just a list, a ledger. Well, each 10 minutes you can do a block of transactions that get added on. Well, if you have more transactions than you can do in that 10 minutes, it starts to back up. It can take days sometimes to be able to do your transaction. So how they would pick from this pool of transactions that would cost like half a cent to forward it or do the transaction, they go, you know what? All of these are free or low, and these right here are paying $1 to $3 a transaction for my $4 latte, okay? Now, if you're transferring $1 million, because the math doesn't know the difference, it's a Starbucks or it's $1 million. They didn't give a crap. It's just numbers. All right. So what they would do is they go, we're only taking, to fill up our memory here, the ones that have $3 transactions and $2, maybe $1. But definitely, you start getting under $1, yeah, you'll be here waiting a while until somebody hits a block that included all of them or something. So that's what was going on. They're going, you need to have a bigger bucket so more transactions can get in. And they go, the miners are going, no, we don't want to do that. And they're the ones that determine what code gets done, no matter how great and wonderful it is. The reason is when they do all these transactions, they win and guess this number and all their proof of work and their power and their guesses and the petahashes of my miner boxes guessing this infinite number of how many atoms in the universe, kind of whatever, and they find the value and everything below that. It was okay. Here you have all the atoms in the universe. The target number is like, all right, half of all the numbers in the universe. I do it here, random hashing and guessing. These computers just guessing, monkeys throwing darts at a board. Pretty much half of every other one would be a correct answer. Well, every 2 weeks they increase or decrease based on the average time of 10 minutes. They don't know it's going to be 10 minutes. It could be average 8 minutes, so they increase the difficulty to make it take longer. Or it's 12 minutes, so they decrease the difficulty so it doesn't take as long in these random guesses. So you have the whole line on this 2 to the 256. 2 times 2 times 2 is, like 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times, by the time you can do that 256 times, it's a really big ass number. Now half of that, 255 times, is half of 256. Now they're going to 512. Double, 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 double. A really big ass number. We're talking more atoms in the universe. Not much less blades of grass. It's every atom in the blades of grass in the universe. I mean, it's a ridiculous number. So what they do is they go, all right, we need the guessing to hit it randomly every 10 minutes. So that means that all these computers guessing, that sliver of numbers that are available is teeny tiny sliver down here. Now, it may represent trillions and quadrillions of numbers, but it's percentage-wise, it's such a thin line that the monkey has to throw the dart and actually hit down here before they win this proof of work thing. The 12.5 Bitcoin, it used to be 50, 25, 20. It's now down at 12.5 reward. So 12.5 times 7,000 is like a lot of money, plus all the transaction fees. So all those transactions in there, the miners want what? They want the transaction fees high. They don't want them cheap. They don't want it fast. They don't want more and done. Hey, we're making money. So they're kind of been holding it up. That's where you have these forks. Bitcoin Cash forked from that, and they go, all right, we're doing this over here. The way they did it, though, is they use the same history. So when you do a Bitcoin Cash, now you have, for every Bitcoin you have a Bitcoin Cash that's now worth $500-$600. So you just increased your, I got more money? I like that. You guys keep doing that shit, all right? Now, their worry is that it would drop off over here, the value of Bitcoin. No, it keeps going up because they are competing and they add more features and so on, but they're going for compliance. They're going to be on the stock market, and you're going to be able to do futures, and you're going to have ETFs that they're going in investment funds if it kind of almost has some Bitcoin on it. I'm telling you, this has been in the works for years, and it's starting to hit. Patrick Byrne has a thing called T0. T0 is instantaneous. The transaction is the settlement. None of this 3 days later before they fulfill the order on Wall Street and they front run and they go buy it and then sell it to you. And they do naked short selling, which is what got Patrick Byrne involved with Overstock.com to begin with. There was more stock out there being traded than was in existence. And he goes, how the hell is that even possible? So he filed suit, spent $35 million or $34 million of his money to win $35 million. But he got discovery, okay? And he found out what happened. He gets on stock market kicking ass. All these industries, insurance, accounting, all kinds of stuff can be done and self-executed as multi-sig contracts to where if certain conditions like an escrow are done, you sign off, boom, the transfer's done, there's no paperwork, it's in his wallet now, done. Done, 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 done. 160 industries that he has on a whiteboard, and he got his company out of Barbados or something to get out of U.S. jurisdiction to kiss my ass. So we have all these industries that are coming that's going to get on blockchain. Well, who's first in line coming and going, yes, and boss, we be doing the computers to enslave your people. IBM. Shocking. So this is worldwide. And the world, I mean fast. It is going to be a blinking of an eye. It's going to be 5 to 10 years max, and the only reason then is just to freaking, develop, construct, and deploy the hardware. And that's why I started buying Bitcoin. It was $250, $270 when I got serious about it, was because, and I still need to be more serious, but it was because at the Consumer Electronics Show, I could see that the point of sale machines, the cash registers at every mom and pop place were starting to what? Start to be able to accept and dispense Bitcoin. And you go to a bunch of locations around here that Doug Hodges has actual ATMs in there. You can go and put cash, take it out. But it has to be under a certain amount, and you got yada, yada, yada. So you could do it. And they charge like 12%. So there's somebody making money. The guy that has the location gets a cut. The guy that has the machine that you lease it from that produced it gets a cut. Doug for maintaining it gets a cut. And the guy that wrote the software for the ATM to work, that was part of his deal, he gets a cut. That's good. So that's why it gets up to like 12%. These forks, now Bitcoin is over here. Bitcoin's dead. As far as I'm concerned, there was Bitcoin, and then it went SegWit, and then Bitcoin Cash, which is Bitcoin Cash. They're trying to stay close to the original argument and the white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that was, and they are trying to say, hey, we're trying to stay, near and dear to this, and you guys can go compliant all you want. So what happened? Now Bitcoin's going to branch off and fork again. This year it'll be Bitcoin Segwit, Bitcoin Gold. They're trying to some kind of tie it to gold or doing something. Anyway, they're going off on their own. Then this one will go segregated witness to increase this, block of memory pool of data. It'll go, and then Bitcoin, it'll keep going until it becomes GovCoin. They are going to be doing for compliance. They want what they call wide adoption. Wide adoption isn't making it easier for grandma to be able to do it. Wide adoption is there's some, guy with a shiny badge and, government, and kind of, can't do it now. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So do you invest in it? When the war started, after 9/11, friends of ours, that know better, big freedom guys, they restructured all their stock portfolio and bought a shitload of Carlisle and military industrial Hughes missiles, kind of what here it freaking comes. You want to see the wind up? You want to see the economy go take a dump everywhere? But the defense industry, yep, I made bank. Sue me. So on the Bitcoin thing, if they're going to use it to enslave us, do we invest in it? Because it's going to go stupid, $1 million of Bitcoin. We're all millionaires in the enslavement thing of we need it to buy bread or something. I mean, these are the things you got to think of. But Pirates Without Borders, what we're working on is, no, we want to be on this side. Let's emphasize this. That doesn't mean we don't buy over here or understand here and have the guys on and they tell me all about it. But I make sure that we have freedom as an option. That freedom shows a market, that it can demonstrate to these people, when you develop this software, give an opt-out thing. Have a branch over, I don't have to do this, I can have my own little that's starting to happen. So our work all this time has been to convince these young coders, because they have some guys, the 60, 70-year-old guys come in with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they were there, venture capitalists, and the next make me a bunch of money, and who am I going to give it to be my bitch? Be my coding monkey. Well, these coding monkeys, I go, look, man, when you're developing this, give it out. Understand. Have an option. There is a market out here for freedom. So that's happening. So I'm feeling pretty good that, at least they understand that there is a market for freedom. But don't think that it's not going to enslave you. Yeah.
Ernie, I got two questions. Question number one, with all these split-offs you're talking about, how is the IRS treating this? Question number two, why is it not possible that the government could come along someday and just say, Bitcoins are illegal, it's not in the Constitution?
Oh, no. Okay, the question was, when they split off, how does the government see these freedom opportunities? And can't they just say it's illegal? Yeah, they do all the time. But it doesn't matter, because they don't care. See, Bitcoin Cash, that was the whole point why they did it. This was getting a little too close to compliance. This was kind of they were making the transaction fees too high. It wasn't all the promises. So they said, we're going over this way. Well, part of going over that way is anonymity. There's things called Monero and Dash and Zcash, and there's 15 gazillion altcoins. There's thousands of them. But the top 10, 20 are the ones you go on something like it's out of Switzerland. One of the kids, he understood what the future was. It was exchanges. It doesn't matter what you get. If I can go to Switzerland virtually on this web page, and I go, I spend in my alt currency or whatever, and it jumbles it around, and it comes back whatever I want, I'm free. They're going to shut down the exchanges in China. They just did last month. They go, you're not allowed to do it anymore. We have just declared it illegal. Well, I'm sitting there laughing my ass off because I know they're going online to go straight to Switzerland and have them do it. They go, yep, done. Code, push the button, done. Now what? Well, you shouldn't be able to do that. Well, stop us. Well, we can't. Good. See, this is the one thing that Russ, our generation, we got to understand. And I made this point at this thing, because the previous Bitcoin conference, they did this. We were talking about it, the guy that runs it, Paul Snow, and he says, and I give my spiel, and he goes, well, let's see what the lawyer says. And the lawyer sitting next to me, I'm going, if I care what the lawyer or what the politician has to say about something, it's the wrong tech. You go, well, what if? Bitcoin is like, yeah, or cryptocurrencies, yeah, what if? We don't care. Our servers are on space. We're in satellites. They're all over backed up mirrored nodes of thousands around the planet, and you can EMP all you want. And all we need is one to repopulate the next 10 minutes. It kind of doesn't matter. This is what they're freaked out about. The government is embracing crypto and blockchain technology not because they love it, it's because they don't have a choice. If they don't make a better Facebook over here that's going to enslave you like Facebook does, you know, if they don't have the CIA back to this great and wonderful and convenient and give us all your information and pictures of your babies, you know, if they don't do that, they'll be over here and the people will do it on their own without them having to link in and not funded. So this stuff is happening right now. All of this, you're going to be on the surveillance grid ones or outside of the surveillance grid ones. Which one? The ability is there. So that's what they're freaking out about. So the value, when you have Cyprus, the oligarchs of Russia, they had a bunch of money. That was like their Cayman Islands out in the Mediterranean. And all of a sudden, they froze all the assets. And they go, you can't have it. It's kind of your money, but we're going to do a haircut. They took 10% off, says you're lucky you even get the 90%, quit your bitching, done. Greece does the same thing. Italy's going down. Spain is having a problem. I mean, it just keeps going. So we're in a situation where the fourth turning is a freaking coming. So who has food? I mean, it's getting basic kind of stuff. This is going to go. There is no doubt in my mind, and we're one day closer. So this is not moving it out further. It's getting closer. That may be a good thing, but it's going to suck if you're not ready. So this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow is some of the technical stuff. If you don't already have Bitcoin, you probably shouldn't come. I mean, at least not for that. Because this is how we're going to manage it and move it, and we're not going to do 101. You know, this is a little bit more advanced of how we're going to protect ourselves and be using it and different and kind of secret of whatever. And there's other use cases that they're developing. We have some coders coming that they got different stuff. If you can think it, they can do it. But are they compliant? With what?
What time tomorrow? What time Sunday?
It's one. It's on the site, you know. But yeah, don't come waste our time. I'll tell you, get the hell out, man. 101 questions don't count. You know, that is not then. That was today. All right. So this is because we're not going to waste the time when these guys are coming out of state to kind of help us, you know, understand what's going on. Okay. This last week, I want to say this one point, give you kind of a narrative, and then let Phranq fill it in. This is, if Doug comes, we'll have him help you, and he'll be the guy that you can start doing some Bitcoins along with and other currencies. When I was leaving, I get an email or a text message. Oh my God, here it is. Oh my God, oh my God. Well, I get a lot from Phranq and Tim, and they're just, oh my God, Gary, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know, and I'm going, oh my God. You know, it's one more thing. Well, it just builds in the, you know, what we already knew, been talking about for 2 years anyway. But if Rachel Maddow doesn't say it, it somehow isn't validated in Frank's mind. Look, you know, Rachel Maddow said it. See, it must be true, you know. So I'm like, yeah, well, then it started coming out when we first, right before the election, there was that company Teneo. How many of you remind me telling you about Teneo? Teneo was I read another article, and I put it up and focused on it. It was called The Clinton Scandal, Inc. All right? And it was written back in 2013. Now, of course, when they write these stories, they take all the facts, they kind of massage them around a little bit, and then they direct it. It was this guy that did it. There's a scapegoat. There's somebody that's being set up. Somebody's getting a target put on them, when really it was either somebody else or a whole much bigger thing. You know, it's not news. It's spin on the olds. So what I learned from several different articles, and 10 months ago, there was a bunch of Pizzagate stuff being done. All these independent researchers going on, did you know that this and this and this and this and this? Well, it's not substantiated. I don't have the corporate, you know, filings. I didn't go see the story. I don't really know. I'm kind of, you know, maybe, maybe not. I don't care. Okay? As this gets validated, I'll kind of start putting it up later. 10 months later, all the a bunch of the stuff that the Pizzagate, you know, on their /.secret, you know, 4chan hub of Reddit, whatever research group, you know, these people just out there looking, and they add a bunch of trolls. They're throwing in bullshit too, so you don't know which one's good. So there's a new crypto. a new blockchain technology called pre-search. And what they're doing is starting to take off. Well, I invested in that. I mean, I do a $50, $100, $200 or whatever just to throw it in. Because if I did that with Bitcoin back in the day, I'd be filthy stinking rich right now, you know? So I'm just going, it's a good idea. I'm invested in the good ideas, philosophically. What theirs is, imagine you go to a search engine like Google. Well, not like Google, but Google comes to mind. So you go into Google and you look and search for all this stuff, and you have these facts and these stories, and you send them in. So instead of Snopes that gets CIA'd up and everything, you know, who cares what they say anymore? So you go in and you say, here's this fact. We want chat. Well, you pay 15 cents or something. A bunch of people are paying. Yeah, I wanted that research. Yeah, I'll do a little crypto on that. So you vote with your cryptocurrency. It could be pennies. And then all of a sudden it accumulates to a point to where, boom, it triggers a curator that sends it out to witnesses and researchers, and then all of a sudden you get this all done, and they go out and find the freaking truth. And the point that they're making as a crowd, you are much more accurate than as individuals. I'll give you an example. For a long time, it's been an experiment that if we took a bottle, or say a carafe full of jelly beans, okay? And I go, how many in here, Mike? And he goes, 200. How many in here? 60,000. How many in here? 5. I mean, you know, you get like 200 responses, and it'd be from 60,000 down to 50, and you're within 0.5% of the actual number when you aggregate the crowd. Every time. Because the crowd, this is how price discovery is done. This is free market. If you take away, tinting of the glass, if you take away, cheating and putting little boxes inside so you don't, this is all government bullshit, okay? You take that out and you have transparency, all of a sudden you start finding the truth. So this is what they're doing, what's called pre-search. They're having us determine, being like a collective, for lack of a better word, accuracy on the news, like Snopes thing. So this is coming. What happens if we have truth? This is pre-searched. I could put on all the stories of Freedom's Phoenix and the articles of the original, if we do all kind of the 4chan, Pizzagate of whatever, and stamp it with a truthiness button. We get our Stephen Colbert truthiness kind of thing. So this is just one of the ideas. There's a whole bunch. Another one, the company, they have a big data center, and they do rewards for like airplane miles and Fry's Electronics or whatever crap like that. Well, he pays a set fee for the electricity. He only uses about 25% of it. So he's got a shitload of electricity he's paying for. He's not using. So what does he do? He puts Bitcoin miners in. They start making a bunch of money. Now he's got the Bitcoin money because you know what? He and his wife, I met him and we had a long conversation. They're in Switzerland now. We may be doing the show from there next week or when they get back the following week. And I'm going, they're going to do their own cryptocurrency that's going to be a rewards program for all of them at the same time. So you go to Walgreens, and the rewards crypto from that can get you a flight on Southwest Airlines. You can buy some Amazon goodies. So all of a sudden, now you have a cryptocurrency that's backed by the value of the actual discount and services that you're getting. Now you got a cryptocurrency that's actually backed by something. Holy shit, what happens then? I don't know. It could go to stupid. Some guys are doing it based on gold that they have in a vault that they got. And I'm going, well, that may be cool when I bring it in, but if it's useful, it could be 100 times what's in the vault. Same kind of thing. Hey, I'm coming in for my gold, but nobody's hey man, it's just how much gold it was at that time. This represents X amount of gold, regardless of what this crypto is worth or what the gold is worth. So when I go in, this crypto is worth 1 gram of gold. I go and I get my gram of gold. So you're never short on the gold, but the currency may be worth more. Why? Because it's backed. This is stuff that's coming, and you're going to be, what the hell just happened? Ernie should have told me. Well, I'm telling you, this is not going to stop. It's just the beginning. Now, a lot of the guys, they sit there and they'll say, we need Bitcoin, wide adoption, even if they do and get taxed and nailed in Wall Street of retirement program of ETF or whatever, so that they get into crypto so they can free themselves from there. It is a government-regulated, sanctified method of your pension of going into whatever, and then you can go on into whatever the hell else is happening. So I just want to give you that overview. Every time I go to these things and talk to these people, I'm still doing a lot of interviews this week and next week, is I can see what's going to happen. you're right. The government's going to be going, oh, you got to be regulated if you need and you got to have, and they go, but we don't have to, and it's done out of freaking $10 kiss my butt on a satellite. There's nothing you can do. There's no server to shut down. There's nobody to arrest. What are you going to do about it? It's math. Well, we're going to bitch. And if we see you transferring this into cash and can catch you, that's where they get you. That's where they got Morpheus. If you are not dealing in fiat anymore and more things get to where you're paying on crypto, less and less opportunity they have to get you. So this is what we're learning, which a lot of us already knew, but I mean, this is what's happening. So that Friday, when I'm leaving to go to the Texas Bitcoin Conference, I get a message from our good friend. His initials are Jeff Greenspan, okay? Because he told us about it a couple of years ago before the election. He goes, Teneo is a company, that guy named Doug Band, Michael Band, whatever Band, B-A-N-D, was the body servant to Bill Clinton. You had Uma Abedin, which is Hillary's, Girl Friday or whatever. Well, Bill had the same kind of guy that was his, personal servant and carried his bags and did whatever, named Band for years. Now, he took and he had all these contacts and all these world leaders and all the selling of access and $250,000 a month, and I might get you a meeting with, blah, blah, blah. Clinton, come meet at your restaurant kind of crap, and the big companies. Why? Because Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Well, there is a foreign investment permission slip committee, all right, that is made up of the Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of State, and then a bunch of other guys and so on, that lays hands on and allows things like uranium, 20% of our uranium stockpile to go to Russia. They're the ones that signed it off. Now, who is this? Timothy Geithner, Hillary Clinton, Holder. How far do I need to go? Yeah, you feel me? So these guys, as they're doing the Uranium One deal, this government agency committee of whatever the hell is one signing off on it. This is the stuff they don't want you to know. Well, who helps that? Teneo. Teneo is a group of Tony Blair and Bill Clinton and all these advisory guys, just incorporated, freaking corruption or us, and Hillary's going to be president. Man, we'll get some stuff done then. Well, this is what they were doing. So then, where are we at now? Oh, we start to see the line. You pay here, you get approved over here, uranium goes to there, but the Russians hacked the election for Trump. While we were selling them uranium. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So now we start to see that Teneo, this group that was going to be announced in September, right before the election, they were going to do an initial public offering and go public. It was Wall Street funded shitloads of money to do corruption in the U.S. You can't make this crap up. So then, to do the IPO, there's another company called Renaissance Cap, blah, 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 blah. Then you find out that on the board of directors, one of the head guys over here at Renaissance that was on Teneo was also investing in buying the pizza chains that had all it just keeps getting good. So then Hollywood starts to go down, all right? Hollywood's going down in this Clinton scandal thing that was written in 2013. It was the who's who of all the scumbag Harvey Weinstein people of the Lolita Express. Then what happens? It ain't so, Kevin Spacey. How many haven't heard about Kevin Spacey? Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, is really good on how corrupt and scumbag shit Washington is. Let me tell you how he knows, because he's in the middle of it. All of a sudden, people are going, he goes, yeah, when I was on Broadway, there is a guy that plays a gay actor on Star Trek Discovery, okay? 14 years old, he's on Broadway, and he tells a story of how he was, attempted molestation by Kevin Spacey. So he goes, now he's a star on a TV series. He goes, yeah, Kevin Spacey's a scumbag. You guys don't know it? Seth MacFarlane, years ago, he had a scene where Stewie, the baby, just on a bet with Brian the dog, he runs through a shopping mall naked going, help me, I just escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. Yep. The fuck was that about? Now we know. MacFarlane, man, he just kind of, it's like Trey Parker and Matt Stone on South Park. It's only in cartoons you get away with this crap. So they're out in this. You have Corey Feldman that was being molested by blah, blah, blah. He's coming out. You have all these. Then all of a sudden, when Harvey Weinstein hit, man, it is dozens and dozens of all these women. They got their story to tell. Kevin Spacey, once this started coming out, all of a sudden, a bunch of people, guys like, I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen, I think it was 11 or something, of the people that work on the set of House of Cards had their stories about Kevin Spacey, and they suspended production.
Isn't Corey Feldman dead?
No, it was Corey Hames. It was another guy, his friend. So this is starting to break down, but you're seeing the left counted on Hollywood. It was public opinion. All of a sudden, Hollywood they're cracking. They're going big time, and they're going to start turning on each other. Same thing's happening with this Mueller investigation. I'll let Phranq get into all the details on that. But when we put it up this last weekend, I left that story, the Teneo Clinton Foundation, Podesta email, Pizzagate. Why are these all connected? What's happening? The entire system. And when you hear me on the show or talking to you guys, I go, the prerequisite for being a congressman or succeeding in politics is you got to be on videotape diddling little boys. Pedophilia is a minimum job requirement to be in politics. It's how they control you. This is the club that they're in. And you're seeing it start to break down and expose. And they're trying to keep this connection of all the Lolita Express and Epstein and Clinton and Spacey and all these guys that are the world universe of we rule you kind of stuff going island of who gives a crap. This thing is how they're able to keep it together because they're all in on it. This is how they control them. And it's obvious that we remember, us older guys remember what was in the early 90s. The Franklin scandal.
Right.
Boys Town, they're shipping them in White House. It's been reported. It's reported all the time. These kids, they were talking about, they go, look, we go to the Santa Barbara police. We go to the LA police. We go to and we tell them, they got tapes of us telling them who did it when. And what do? Nothing. That's their job. It's the same thing with Las Vegas. Las Vegas, you have the sheriff. He resigns and goes and works for the hotel and endorses this other guy for sheriff. Then when he resigns, he goes and works for security for the hotel and then endorses this guy for sheriff. Bunch of FBI guys are in here. So when you talk about law enforcement, politics, the federal government, and the casinos are all the same thing. You are not going to get it from them. So what happens? Some of these eyewitnesses go, yeah, I saw multiple shooters, and that guy went boom, and he's dead. They're already starting to off Las Vegas people. 2, 3, 4 people already died. Some of them have their cars messed with, their suspension being dismantled, the brakes are coming. Oh, it's coming. It's all the same thing. And why they got you all worked up, and we hate Trump and Antifa, we got to go in the revolution of it's all bullshit. It is just there to create this illusion that there's conflict amongst Americans, and most people don't even know or freaking care what the hell's going on.
Amen.
So this is it's just bullshit. Yeah. So what do? Let them go, man. They have their meeting, protest all they want. Well, they gotta have the skinhead right of the Nazi somebody. Well, hell, they come in on the same bus.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
So it's just manufactured. But are the issues? Then what do we find out? Brazil comes out, which was the woman that they got the name, the questions from CNN for the debates of Hilary of whatever the hell. So what does Donna Brazil do? She comes out and just yesterday, saying, I have proof that Hillary Clinton to save my ass, okay? Donald worked out a deal with me or something. I don't know what the hell.
She's saying a year ago I had proof.
All right. Yeah, while she was on CNN saying it didn't happen.
Before the election. Yeah, but now she's backing off. Latest news this morning, she's recanting some of the stuff.
Whatever.
In her book. She's crazy.
So what they're saying is they have proof that Hillary stole the election from Bernie Sanders.
Sure.
Which is a lot of people knew that anyway.
We all do.
So, Phranq, so what we're going to do is, Doug might not be able to make it, and I'm sorry, but I just wanted you really to get, if you're going to be buying Bitcoin, you got somebody here that you can do it with. Westside Bitcoin. You just look it up on the internet; it'll show up. He's door-to-door, banker, just like Morpheus, except he takes it a little bit more seriously on limits that he'll do a day to stay under. Hopefully they won't be able to do anything. But Morpheus is like, screw it, man, bring it on. Million, yeah, I'm your boy, man. Make more commit, bring it on. So he was, you gotta love him, for taking that attitude. But you still have the opportunity, and it's still going to go. In my estimation, I am seeing Bitcoin. There is no limit. It's going to go stupid. But that doesn't mean it represents freedom. But it does get you into cryptocurrency, so you can purchase some freedom. There's a bunch of others. That is the on-ramp. But you may, they're going to see you if you don't know what you're doing. And how to secure it and put it and say that's what Phranq and I are, learning more and more. And I got my little device and he's got his and we're going to do it tomorrow. So that's, if you're high-end Bitcoin, you really want to know and do what you're welcome. But if you're not, you're sitting there, yeah, but what's it? No, I don't got time for that crap tomorrow, okay? So Phranq, go ahead and come on up. Dr. Phranq Tamburri, you know him, the Trump report, and he's always got it up. He's going to fill in these blanks of what's going on now, where this is likely a trajectory of what's going to happen, but it's also economy. And I thought it was a mistake that Trump embraced this run-up in the stock market, because what happens when it goes? Is that your fault? So I don't know what the hell that was about. What? I'm sorry, do you want to go now?
No.
What? I'm in the middle of... Do you want to talk?
Not right now, but at the end,
Sure.
we ask people stuff.
Let him talk. We need some.
I want to give Pat, whatever he wanted to do. All right. Everybody, pay attention. Turn off your phones. No texting. Here we go.
Thank you.
All right.
Do we want to have people go to the trial if possible? We'll put notices up on Freedom's Phoenix. 12
For Morpheus.
For Morpheus.
Okay.
Yeah,
we've been putting it up. The Morpheus trial, it would be, I don't know how long did they schedule for that?
Well, I don't know either, but it was supposed to be December 5th, but if you look at the stuff that went up yesterday, they're starting to extend the time for motions. I got a feeling they're going to bump the trial again.
Of course they are.
Yeah, be January, February.
No, this is all bullshit. They want a plea out of him. They need a guilty something. They do not want to go to trial.
Right.
And I haven't talked to Morpheus. I haven't communicated with him one bit, because I already know what it is. You're going to make him say it. What is it?
Yeah.
They don't want to say it. They can't. It's been all over the place. So but yeah, no, we're going. We went to all the things. We were there the first one. We were there next week. The second one, yeah, they look at my face. I'll be here.
Right.
I don't care what you say. You just got to say it. They don't want to say it. So we'll see what happens. Morpheus they're starting to realize he's not going to cooperate, and his defense team are so overwhelmed by this, they're doing everything to try to get him to cooperate, just so they can walk his hand, hold him through the sentencing process, because it's freaking too much work. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So I'm going, nope. And he'll have a ground of appeal that his defense team didn't know what the hell they're doing.
Are these federal charges against him?
Yeah.
Federal?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
No, he's in federal court.
Yeah, DOJ is coming after him.
Oh, it was the Department of Justice. It was DEA, BATF, Homeland Security, FBI, County Sheriff's Department, City of Scottsdale. Everybody went on this raid.
Everybody want a piece of that action.
They go, ooh, we're going to get some. And then they didn't have anything. They went, well, this kind of sucks. Somebody's staying after school on this one. Okay? Dr. Phranq Tamburri.
Yeah!
All righty.
Get him, Frank.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's nice to be in fellow company of people who are, all of us, Morpheus, Ernie, all of you, myself, we're just pains in the asses. And that's what I love about just, fighting the system in different ways. We're the troublemakers, and it's nice to know sometimes we're not all alone. Pat, did you want to say something? I'll give you the time.
After you're done, please.
Okay, because I'm sure you're going to have a few things to say after I'm done. Trust me, when I get done, Pat's going to have a few things to say.
We want to hear it.
Yeah, so a couple things first off. First, I'm a little bit under the weather a bit today, so if I seem a little low energy like Jeb Bush, that's why, okay? Ernie's guy, Jeb. First, just a couple of odds and ends. And then I want to talk about some of the scandals, and then I'm going to talk about Bitcoin a little bit, and then a couple of the scandals, which I'm sure most of you, and you're in this room, you guys all kind of have been following this, I know.
We can't be here all day. I mean, come on, scandals.
And then I'm going to kind of shift and talk more of a larger topic. Not that Ernie had asked, he gave me the floor to talk about certain things, but there's a topic I talk about on the air quite a bit, and I thought this might be a good venue to discuss a bit about antisocial disorder, because ultimately, we can talk scandal, all of this, but as a naturopath, it's often what's the underlying cause. That's what you're looking at. It's not just all the symptoms. I mean, this is the symptom of the problem. And we never really talk about it as much. And Ernie's always given me the mic, and we were able to chat. But not all of you listen to the show, and you guys we're all busy. But first off, he mentioned the blue pages in the phone book. And my mentor, Irv Homer, used to always talk about the blue pages in the phone book, back when people knew about phone books. And he used to use that as proof about the Federal Reserve. He said, real simple, look for it in the blue pages. You see the Federal Reserve? It's not in the blue pages. It's in the white pages. And that was the checkmate to this entire discussion was, it's in the white pages, not the blue pages. Game over, done. And so I always thought that was a very powerful argument. As far as Bitcoin, how many of you guys have, maybe the guys admit it, but or at least involved in it, I'll just put it that way. All right, I'm not trying to hack you. Okay. So, by the way, Ernie had mentioned if you go to a Bitcoin convention, be careful because that is the epicenter where all the top Bitcoin people who have Bitcoin go. And I heard he was mentioning how hackers show up in the hotel rooms, and when you're using your cell phone during the conference,
or you're on Wi-Fi,
they're going in and hacking, taking your Bitcoin because they know all the big players are there. Never even thought about that one. So just be aware for those of you
that have it. The head of the Texas Bitcoin Conference 2 years ago lost $30,000, which is worth $1 billion now. Davi Barker had $6,000 taken off of his wallet. You have to understand this technology, or you get ripped off.
Right. So speaking of which, so a number of you have it. Some of you probably start looking into it. I myself did lose money myself. I had a real quick thing with Bitcoin. I had learned about it, back in 2007, or it's been a real while before anyone I knew. 9, 10, whatever, was the first year. And I remember reading, I was getting ready to invest, and I read a newspaper article, newspapers, online, whatever, how Bitcoin, this new experimental currency that was $20. Everyone went, oh my God, how could this token be $20? It's a sham. And it dropped to like 5 cents. And they said, well, you see, it's a scam and never was going to make it. It was like Wall Street Journal or something. And I was this close to buying it at $20. And when it went to 5 cents, I went, damn, well, I guess it was an experiment. It didn't work out. And I thought maybe I should still buy some. And I was going to buy it. But it was so new. There weren't even any apps or things really for it. You had to buy a computer and a printer, and I had to get a hard drive, and all this stuff that I had to buy at the time, because I was still in debt for medical school, in order to buy tokens that were 5 cents that just dropped. So I thought, look at all the expense to buy something that probably just failed. And I didn't. And of course, everyone talks about when they should have bought. I was looking at 5 cents, and it still kills me about that one. But anyway, later on, I bought it at $100 because then they said, well, now you can put it on a server. Now it's easier. You just put the money to Western Union, and then you can put it on Mt. Gox, this company, right? Everyone said Mt. Gox was great. So I put it on Mt. Gox, went to Ernie's Bitcoin conference, and when I went there, everyone told me, oh, Mt. Gox? Well, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, well, that's what everyone online said to do. And then 1 week later, Mt. Gox got nailed, and I lost my money on that one, right? So I've been burnt, and I still invest.
We told you.
Yeah. So I still invest. I still recommend, but you have to really know what you're doing. The one thing I will point out is because once you've been burnt enough times, the most important thing is to get that Bitcoin off of your computer, because as this thing keeps going up, if you have 1 Bitcoin, and if this goes to 10,000, which it probably will quick, and then it'll go probably, if people think maybe 100,000, who knows how much these things will go. Well, just having 1 Bitcoin, you're a target for people out there, because when it comes more valuable, it's worth trying to get it. So what I recommend is a cold storage to get it off your computer at all costs. I just bought a new one. It's called Crypto Steel. I'm going to pass it around so you guys can get an idea. This came from Germany. It's like a 3-month waiting list for them to produce it when there's enough orders. And this is it. Now, I've not activated or put my code in there, so you guys can look at it, whatever. Came right from Germany. It's actually nice packaging and such. But what it is this, looks like some kind of, I don't know, army thing. But you open it up. If I can open it. It's hard to open it. I don't know. Ernie, you could probably open it. Can't even open the damn thing. I know, it slides, but
Get a hammer.
I always have, it's so tricky. It's a little trick to it. Anyway, you can take a look, and there you go, thanks. So, and you have this here, and you have these little lines, and you put your code in, And this is the code. It's sort of like a little child's toy. All the different on a keyboard, and you take these and you slide them in here.
Type. It's like your
removable type, yeah. And it's all steel. And you put them in and you lock them in, and then you close it, and then you can even put locks around these things, and you put it in your safe, or you can dig it and put a hole in the backyard or wherever you want to do. This is as good as gold, as far as the fact it's not going to degrade or anything happens to it. And you always have that code. So with this, you go to Panama, go anywhere with it. As long as you have this code, you can activate your Bitcoin anywhere. Of course, if you're going to Panama and you don't want to go through a search, you just take the code, write it down on a piece of paper, swallow it, and then when you wind up in Panama, you retrieve it, and then you just find a cell phone, boom, 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 and there's your money, and the TSA can do the rectal probe all day long, and they're not going to get it. So that is, when people wonder about what the value of Bitcoin is, that in itself is an inherent value. But anyway, I'll pass this around for those of you. I'm just recommending, if you get involved in this and you're that new with it, whatever you do, you just make sure you get the Bitcoin off in some way, so at least you can figure out the rest of it later. Because if you get it and you just put it on your thing and you just watch it go up every day and you go, wow, look how rich I am. Well, it's fun to do that, but you're a target and then it's all gone and you're going to be killing yourself. Trust me, I already know. So get one of these, and no, I don't get a commission.
All right, pass it around.
How much are those?
That was, it's funny. It's
Hey,
about
don't lose anything, and don't open the...
Yeah, don't open the plastic part. You just take a look. If anything, if it starts to rip open, just call me or tell Ernie. So it's about $100, or I should put it another way. It's $100 in Bitcoin. So you order it online. They take about $100 Bitcoin. It's called Crypto Steel. That's the name of it, Crypto Steel. And the funny thing is, I got the receipt. The receipt was $11. So you can see what they did. They took $100 of my Bitcoin, but they officially sold it to me for $11. That was a receipt from Germany. So anyway, it's all cool. That's fine. Of course, then again, but after 3 months, that cost a lot more than $100 because my Bitcoin went up quite a bit. All right, there is a stiff barrier to entry with Bitcoin, which I know is what puts off a lot of people. And here's the kicker: is that the people who understand computers to this level are young people. They understand us quicker, but they don't have any money because the government's done it to them. You guys have the money because you're older. It's what happens, at least in theory, depending on with the tax system we have. But in theory, you guys are more, established and have money, but the older crowd doesn't often understand the computers. So it's this strange little dichotomy that's out there, but the hard barrier to entry is what is making it valuable now. Once it becomes mainstream, which is what Ernie was hinting at earlier, that's when the cost goes up because all of you people are not putting the time in now, and I'm not slighting anyone, it's a risk, obviously, but you're hearing about it, and all of a sudden, when your IRA, allows Bitcoin, or when futures do Bitcoin, or when Amazon, and this is the other thing I don't think Ernie mentioned, the other reason it spiked up recently is because Amazon, Jeff Bezos, they came out and they bought 3 domain names with Amazon and cryptocurrency or crypto blockchain, whatever. In other words, the hint out there is that Amazon is going to start accepting Bitcoin. When Amazon does, that's like when when all of a sudden Dr. Oz says something about medicine, all of a sudden it's real for people. I can say whatever. When Dr. Oz says it, it's real. Right. So when Amazon all of a sudden starts to use it, the average person's going to go, oh, you mean this is like real medicine, it's real money. Then it's going to spike even more, and that's another reason it took off. And they haven't even come out yet with it. So these are some things to consider. And once it's more easy to buy, and you can get it through your broker and everywhere else, it's going to just pile on. So I'm just letting you guys know now. I understand it's a hard barrier of entry to get started, but it might be worth it for those of you who are interested now. The other point is that Bitcoin is the first, or essentially the first, cryptocurrency. I do think it's sort of like MySpace, where eventually Facebook maybe was more dominant later. I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to go away, but I don't know if it's going to be the dominant. And at first I thought that was a reason not to invest. Because, well, all these other cryptocurrencies are out and every kid in their basement could come up with their own, so there's no value. But what I'm realizing is it's going to be like the currency market today. There's all these different currencies
that are better.
There's the pound, the mark, the yuan. There's different currencies. And when you understand that, you don't just assume there has to be just one. So you have different ones with different capabilities, and you can swap. And my mentor, Irv Omer, again, used to talk about how much money he learned, or how much money works, and how to make money in World War II. He was a bomber pilot, and he was told by his commanding officer to fly from, strip to strip. He would fly to, France and then England, and he would go collect bombs. And he was told by his commanding officer, he would give him money, and he'd say, while you're over there, getting more bombs, I want you to go and take these dollars and buy some French stuff, and then go buy some marks. And he was basically, this commanding officer was learning about currency swapping. And this mentor learned, because he was the transport guy on the bomber ship, and he's sitting there learning how you can manipulate currencies. And the same thing's happening now, the opportunity with cryptocurrency. It's happening right now. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities that bring in basic economics, and a lot of you I know have that background. Okay, I don't want to bore you too much with any more Bitcoin stuff, but since that was one of the topics for today. All right, Donald Trump. I heard he's still president, and he tweets me once in a while, kind of lets me know what's up. I don't know how many guys get his tweets. It's always interesting. I get them at 5 in the morning. He wakes me at 5 in the morning every morning, because that's 8 o'clock East Coast time, and at 8 o'clock he hits the button and all the tweets go out, in the morning East Coast, and I get up at 5. That's kind of what happens. But anyway, look, the scandals, you guys all follow them. There was the Hollywood sex scandal, the hypocrisy behind that, of course. They sit there, they want to make jokes about Catholic priests. It's always the priests and the clergy that are all pedophiles or what have you, but yet these people are throwing morality on America and the heartland, and yet they themselves are the cesspool right there, and yet they're throwing that morality. There's some obvious things. Bernie Sanders, of course, being screwed over. That shouldn't be a surprise, even to Pat, maybe, because he comes here enough. And but the fact that it's coming out is profound, and I'll explain more why I think that's so important, as much as they want to downplay it. The CNN gave the questions, and that was through Donna Brazil. She gave the questions to Hillary Clinton, and it's interesting that after she lost all of her cred, she's the one now writing this in the book. Now, of course, CNN, that she used to work for, is already trying to diss her and saying, well, she's just trying to make money off of a book. But maybe she's also trying to get right with the universe. It's possible, because I have a feeling like Barack Obama, not that I'm a big fan of Obama, but Obama, I think much of his problems was he was sucked into this swamp. When there's really evil people there, like if you work at a company and it's owned by bad people, it's maybe just human nature. You come with good intentions and you get tainted along the way. I think, as I'm going to talk about, I think Barack Obama is one of a few people that could actually turn some of this around. Because Barack Obama, he's not going to be known for his policies, because there won't be any policies left of anything he's done, and I think we know all that. What he'll be known historically for is being the first black president, of course, and the most powerful black man in the world in history. And I think that's it's a noble reason in itself. But he is tied to this now. He was forced to go along with this ever since he basically had to comply with Clinton, if you remember, during the primary, when he basically had to make that deal with the Clintons for her to stand down from that primary. Remember that primary went all the way into the summer? And the deal was that the DNC and Obama's people had to pay for Clinton's bills for running that primary all the way to the end. And then on the same time, she got to pick whatever she wanted. And she picked Secretary of State, go wonder, she's got the Clinton Foundation and all, and setting that up.
Are you saying that he's a victim then? Obama might be a victim?
Well,
that's what I'm
it depends what you call victim. It's, when I hate to bring up the Nazi thing, but because that's always usually when you don't have an argument, you bring up Nazis and Hitler. But there's something to be said. The Germans, you can have good people doing bad things, and where is that line? I think ultimately what my point I'm going to get to is what makes the Clintons different, specifically Hillary Clinton, and I'm saying that in a serious manner. I'm not in any way saying it's giving Barack Obama a pass for identifying and targeting Ron Paul Campaign for Liberty and all these other groups as for the taxes of the IRS and all these other things that Obama's done. I'm not saying that, but remember Obama, since to that point, he was a coddled guy, right? He was coddled, just like what's his name from Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is the same thing. He was coddled by the establishment to be used as their weapon against the establishment that was embedded. So it was Democrats that didn't want the Clintons in there that rallied behind Obama because they thought he was iron-proof. He had the winning complexion, if you know what I mean. So they figured he would be the new guy. He was new. He didn't have a long history. And when he was senator, he was coddled and told not to vote. vote. I mean, he barely voted, right? Remember, he hid abortion votes. He didn't vote. He was out, I don't know, whatever he was doing, because they didn't want a track record so they could run him. And it wasn't until Kennedy vouched for Obama that everything began to change. And then Janet Napolitano, of course, vouched for Obama. And that's when all the cards fell, when she was governor. And that's why Janet Napolitano became Homeland Security chief, because she does such a great job with security of our border. But anyway, she got to pick because she was one of the first to turn against the Clinton machine. Remember, Janet Napolitano was best friends and worked with Hillary Clinton. Right? Those two worked at the Rose Law Firm, and it was Janet Napolitano and Hillary Clinton who were the attorneys defending Anita Hill against Clarence Thomas. A lot of you guys might not remember that. They were there. Those two were buddies. So for her to turn on Hillary Clinton was a big deal. Anyway, I don't want to get too much and redo history there, but that's where Obama was coddled, and he was put into this thing. And I know in this group I'll probably get tarred and feathered about trying to, like I'm apologizing for him. I'm not. But it might take someone like him who knows that his legacy, if this gets worse, when this scandal is going to get, there's so many layers to this, he will be like Nixon, be tied to this. And do you really want, if Obamacare is done and there's nothing there except the first black president, and this scandal gets so big and you're tied to it, if I were him, I would do what everyone else is going to start to do, is cut and run, and everyone's going to start piling on Hillary Clinton, in my opinion.
They're already doing it.
Because, I'm sorry?
They're already throwing it.
Exactly, it's already started. Because she's not in power now, she's not going to be in power, the money's dried up at the Clinton Foundation, and now all these, the first level corrupt people that rode her coattails are the first people who will also backstab the criminal head, and that's what's going to start to happen. Now, along with Barack Obama, who else could maybe change some of these scandals and change this around? You see, it's like in medicine, there's like with vaccinations, with smoking. Let's take smoking. Why is it the tobacco companies never admitted that smoking or tobacco caused lung cancer? Right? They never did it. Or how about dentists that refuse to admit that mercury fillings could cause, problems? Now they're all mercury-free amalgams, most of them. But those first dentists got in trouble. They had their licenses pulled. Prostate cancer, what I deal with, most prostate cancer surgeons refuse for the longest time to admit that ripping out prostates maybe was not the right thing to do, that we're over-treating. How about the vaccination debate? The vaccine companies refusing to come out and say that maybe there's a problem. What do they all have in common? They're all evil. They're all evil. No.
Love of money.
I don't necessarily agree completely. I think the problem is it's the litigious nature. If you are the dentist, if you're the dentist, and all of a sudden it comes out that all the mercury you put in people's faces, their heads, causes cancer, and then you say, oh yeah, I guess I'm right. I guess that study's right. It does cause. Well, then how many people are going to come sue you? How are you going to sue the dental corporation? Vaccine companies, the minute that they admit that vaccines might cause autism, then all these moms that are all angry are going to just pounce on these companies. Same thing with tobacco companies. So what's keeping often businesses and the truth of coming out, then you look at them and say, how corrupt can these tobacco companies be? And I understand there's money, but the vaccines and the dentists, and I can keep going in medicine, it's this pile on. All you got to do is turn on, when I watch Jerry Springer at night, my favorite show, and you sit there, you watch it, and all those commercials saying, did you take an aspirin and something, you had a hangnail? Call us and we'll sue that damn physician and whomever. That's the mentality out there. So you're not going to have people come out. And the more you double down and show that anger, the more the other side will entrench themselves. And that's where the liberals are, in my opinion. You have the evil ones at the top that know what they're doing, but you have others who I think may be journalists, and I'm going to bring up one specifically, Ted Koppel. People like him, or Bernstein, Woodward Bernstein, these guys, I have respect for them. I may not agree with all their views of things, but I think, imagine you're Bernstein and such, and you're working at the Washington Post, which is nothing but crap now, and you sit back and you go, what happened to journalism back in the day? Now they're near retirement. It's nothing like it was before. The thing is, they've doubled down on this giant lie that's taken on so many factors that it's almost like the vaccine companies. You can't come out and admit wrongdoing because there's so much there that you've been pushing upward, you see? So I think it's going to take someone brave to come out, and it has to be from the other side. It can't be from the Republicans. It can't be from conservatives. It has to be one of them, because we can pound and have more evidence and more. We have videos of Hillary Clinton sitting there, just gangbanging, bam, 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 like this. You can show that, and the liberals will say, wow, that was just a Tuesday. That's who cares? That's politics. We all do it. What's the big deal? They would do this constantly. I mean, it is. If you guys spin this stuff around, all you got to do is spin it around. Imagine if Ronald Reagan had came out, was given the debate questions by the news. I mean, just imagine the 80s if this happened. Just imagine all the things. What if all of a sudden you found out that George Bush originally, stole the entire primary? I can't imagine the riots that would be. The liberals would go, oh my God, he's not legitimate, on and on. How about, it goes on and on. How about you want to jump on Trump because what? Because he had, because he said something, nasty about women and being some guy. Well, he's a billionaire. The guy, I'm not making an excuse, but the guy wasn't.
Grabbing women's genitals crosses the line, Phranq.
Oh, wait.
You just condemned all of us guys here. You just condemned all of us guys.
So the thing is, so you've got Donald Trump. Wait, Donald Trump may have, whether he did that or not, he said it on some guy with Access Hollywood, right? So let's just say he did that. Let's just say he did it. The question is, where's the double standard? Hey, Pat, I was curious. I must have missed it. When was the march in Washington in the 90s when Bill Clinton was accused of being a sexual predator? I missed that march. When was it?
I'm not sure, Phranq. One of the things
you don't know? No, because tell me when that march was. And when's the march in Hollywood? When's the march? Where's all the pink hats in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Phranq,
when are they?
I don't know, but one of the things I'm going to say is that I voted for Bill Clinton twice, and I got it written right here, before I found out he raped Juanita Broaddrick. I got it right here, and I'm going to say it if you people have the freaking guts to hang around.
I can't wait. Pat, I can't wait. I really do. But my point, though, is that this hypocrisy goes both ways. It's such a double standard, and I don't think they even see it. It's like you've got Bill Clinton who was accused of sexual predatory behavior as governor, and then doing it again in the White House. And then they saying, well, we shouldn't elect someone like Donald Trump. But the thing is, and then they get mad at us thinking that we are horrible people for putting in someone who did that. Let me just tell you just an example. I remember I debated people on the radio back in the 90s. And liberals told me back then, maybe like yourself, they said, why are we getting after Bill Clinton? Because he's a powerful man. They'd say, Phranq, come on, wink, wink. They'd say, look, this happens in politics. Men like that who are powerful have strong libidos. I was also told, they'd say, your professional life and your personal life are different. I was told that, Phranq, if you have a heart attack, I was told this by my liberal doctor friends, if you have a heart attack, Phranq, and you're on the table, and they fly in the best heart surgeon in the world, and your heart's open, and then you find out that a heart surgeon's having an affair with the nurse, do you really care? No. His personal life and him doing a great job are separate. And I was told, Pat, and many people, that was separate, and to keep it separate. Okay, so wait, so now that Donald Trump is in his spot, and whether he did it or not, which I'm not saying that, and even if he did, it doesn't even come close to what a sitting governor and president has done. But nevertheless, the reason that maybe Republicans don't care as much is because I thought this issue was settled. Because I was told that by Democrats all during the 90s. So as far as I'm concerned, I am deaf to that. Now, so that, I'll just put that, I don't want to get all stuck in this section.
What happened?
Oh, did the chair go?
Yeah. Okay?
Oh, dear.
Did it break?
Coffee for him. Yeah. Where's the lawyers at when you need them?
Yeah, because you're doing like my teenagers and leaning back in it. Where you?
Phranq, you were also
Let me get another one.
Exactly.
We're getting one of these.
Let's give him a second here, make sure it's fine.
We got one.
Sobered us up. Sorry for the interruption.
It's all right, I thought maybe somebody said shocked you.
You klutz, you can't even keep your chair up.
I know, I'm giving her a hard attack. Hey, thanks for helping Pat, I do appreciate jumping up there. Yeah. So we're still friends. All right. So anyway,
We'll always be friends.
Yes,
We'll always
okay.
be friends.
So anyway, we'll get off the sex part. But my point was just sometimes the hypocrisy could be there, and they don't often see it. And I think it's with best of, and what I've learned enough is, aside from the liars at the top that push this, like the George Soroses, the thing is, the people who believe all this on that side, they're really decent people, and that's the hard part. It's like they're good people that have fallen prey to all of this. And so what I wanted to talk about, by the way, the one last thing is the new Republican poll came out. I know it might be biased, but it was an inside Republican poll I had heard about, is that they said if the election was held today, Trump would still win, and that Hilary, 4 out of 10 Hillary voters would not vote for her now, for what it's worth. It's a new poll. I mean, it may be worthless, but I just thought I'd pass that on. As far as with the scandal, a couple things with the scandal, and this will make more sense when I finish my sociopath comments here. But no, I'm really serious. I'm not saying that, and I mean respect to Pat too. When I say that, I don't mean that as an ad hominem attack, like, well, you're yo mama. I don't mean that. I mean that as a physician from a very medical perspective. Okay, I want to talk about that. But keep in mind, this whole investigation with Trump was what, over a dossier, right? That's what started. That's what they used to start it. The dossier we're finding out, of course, was written by the DNC and Clinton, and we know that Clinton and the DNC are the same thing now because of now what Donna Brazile was talking about. So now we know this thing was research against the enemy, but it's also most likely made up. Especially the fact, just one alone. Let me tell you guys, because I've heard a lot of people from back east who knew about Donald Trump. Do you guys know he's a germaphobe? You guys all know that?
Yep.
He's a serious germaphobe. Yep. As a matter of fact, he doesn't wear a pair of socks more than once. He donates every pair of socks. He wears them one time and donates them to charity. He remember one time there was an interview, I heard him on Howard Stern a long time ago, and then later on this happened similar in the political thing, where he was being interviewed, real political stuff, and then he's being interviewed, and somebody in the room, there was food. They had the dip. You ever the chips and dip? Some person took the chip and double dipped in the dip.
Gross.
And all of a sudden Trump stops and he just keeps going. Now you don't double dip, you just forget the whole interview and he's going off on the double dipping, right? It just gives you an idea of just how much he really is a germaphobe, you know what I mean? And so to think that he was lying on beds with people urinating on it and everything, just on its face. Anyone understands this guy, problems and all, it's a lie. So I don't think there's any real question now that it's a lie. And if that was a lie, it means that this entire investigation was begun with a lie. Yes. Then when that wasn't panning out, they switched, kind of like crabs. When we get back, they kind of sidestep. They switched now to the Donald Trump Jr. issue. They say, oh, well, he met with someone for 10 minutes. On their end, they claimed that they showed up and they didn't understand what it was about. It was this odd thing. They talked about Russian adoptions. It was odd. They just felt something strange, and then they left. Okay, now the liberals are looking at it as, aha, you see, you set you up. I'm sorry, that's what happened. But you see that you guys got together with Russians to try and get collusion information. Well, now we find out later, Fusion GPS is who organized that Nesselvinskaya, the woman that was there, she was brought into this country through Obama, special permission through Obama. She also worked with Democrat senators. There's pictures of her in Senate committees sitting behind Democrat senators or congressmen. On top of that, and I don't know if you saw this, but after, on her Facebook, they deleted it, after Trump was elected on the Women's March, the one that they forgot when Clinton was in office, but during the Women's March, she was at the Women's March wearing the hat, hanging out with her liberal friends, bashing Donald Trump. She put it on her Facebook. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they want to say that, well, you see, they're trying to promote, and they're against Hillary, and they wanted Trump to win. How could someone that goes at the Women's March be wanting her to lose? So now we realize that whole thing is a scam. So now where do you go? I mean, where do they go? Now they're talking Facebook ads. That's how we got in. I'm sure all of you voted Donald Trump or didn't vote for anybody, whichever it is, because Facebook ad, right? And we found out it was $50,000. It was $100,000 given. That was it in Facebook ads. And of the 100,000, only half of them were used during the election. That meant that only 50,000. I mean, how many commercials can you run on your local TV station for $50,000? And we're going to say, so this is how desperate they are, is that the fact that they can't come to terms with that he won, and more importantly, and I mean this sincerely, they don't understand it. They honestly don't understand. They didn't see the polls. They don't understand the anger. I'm not playing the game here with Ernie and I going back and forth, but I predicted this. A month after he came down the escalator, I got Keith's dollar. I'm not trying to be a wise guy with it, but the reason that I saw this so early on is because I understood the anger and what was going up beneath. But if you keep listening to the same media over and over, you just assume that that's the reality, right? That's why they were so confused. The polls made no sense to them. The fact that we're still going after Hillary Clinton now, they don't get it. They don't understand all those rallies, lock her up. I was at the inauguration, guys. I was there. A million people, however many people, whoever. I don't know how many people were at the inauguration. I won't get to that one. But the thing is, I was there. It was astounding when Hillary Clinton got up, because I was right at the front. I was able to get nice tickets to an activist friend of ours. And when Hillary Clinton walked on, you could see in the big giant telemonitors, but I could actually see her. I was close enough. The whole mall, it was just, lock her up. I almost felt embarrassed at first, because I'm like, it was amazing. I mean, not for her, but it was just I couldn't believe it. Lock her up, screaming, as far as you can hear. I mean, why are they saying this? So let me get into more of a general thing, and I'm going to start next 5-10 minutes of what I have left. I'm going to talk about antisocial and where I think the Democrats are at. And I say this with respect to my Democrat liberal friends, because this is not against Democrats. What's that?
Sorry, nothing.
That's all right. Yeah.
Cell phones off, please.
So. And I may disagree with liberals on policies, and there are certain people I may not like as much as others, but I want to be really clear. This is not this bash on Democrats, and ultimately, I hope Democrats pay attention, because they have many good ideas. I know, some of you don't throw tomatoes, but I think Democrats are part of this country. Their liberalism has its place, and I think they could save their I know. What I'm getting at is that they're a part of the history and the backbone of this country, whether we like it or not, and I think they earn respect, but they haven't earned it now because of what's happening. I think liberal Democrats, to save the heritage of their party and what they've done, is they need to come out and call out this poison in their own party. When they do, they can start healing, they can start having integrity back. The journalism, for what it's worth, can start to reunify to some degree, and this country can start to heal. But it has to come from Democrats. So here's the analogy I give you. And Pat and I said this, and I'm really glad you're here. Imagine that you have your child, because my daughter's going to go into school in a few years. I don't know how many years until she goes to school. No government school.
Never.
Trust me on that one. But anyway, so let's say she goes to some government school. And all of a sudden she's there, and after a few weeks, principal calls and says, my daughter's in detention. And I go, detention, anyway. And then I'm like, whatever. I ask her, she goes, the kids picked on me. And then all of a sudden, a week, 2 weeks later, she's in detention again. She goes, the other kid picked on me. And, for the next year, she's constantly in detention. And she keeps telling me it's all these kids beating her up, and there's a conspiracy, and this one hates her, and this one pushed her. And of course, she's my daughter. I'm going to believe her because I love her, and she doesn't act that way at home. I don't see that. There's got to be something wrong with the kids. And you go with this, and you go with this, because it's your people. And then you say, you know what, maybe these kids are just bad. They all hate her because, I don't know, she's white or whatever it is, And so I move her to another school, maybe in Washington, D.C., maybe, I move her from the school in Hope, Arkansas, and I move her to New York, Washington, D.C., and guess what? All of a sudden, she's in detention again. And she keeps saying, Daddy, it's not me, it's them. There's always, and everywhere I put her, there's constantly scandals. There's constantly problems. At some point, it may take a while. At some point, as the father, you sit up, and it's hard to do. I can imagine how hard now that I have a daughter. And you sit back and you say, is it possible it's my kid? I mean, is it possible? You don't want to think that, but if it does, then things start to make sense. Why is it I don't have any friends? How come when I have a birthday party, none of the parents are bringing their kids over? How come things are, you know what I'm saying? Like, you start to see all these things that didn't make sense. They start to come in focus. It's like the end of The Sixth Sense. When you find out that, skip to the end, right? Bruce Willis is, he's dead. And all of a sudden, the whole movie is like, boom, 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 boom. A completely different movie. That's where I think many liberals are going to be forced to look at this. And that's how I look at it with Hillary Clinton, is that this is not about Democrats, because when you jump on Hillary Clinton, they assume you're just attacking all Democrats, and that's why they don't understand why we're still talking about her. liberals, even the doctor at my office, she goes, well, you guys won. Why are you still beating up on her? We are, because it's not about being a Democrat. It's about a poison that's in this country, and it's affecting all of us, but the liberals can't see it yet because they keep thinking too close to home. Okay? So with Hillary Clinton, I make this analogy. I say, look, when have you ever heard so many scandals about another Democrat, right? Because suppose it's a conspiracy. JFK, where are all the conspiracies? Heck, we knew he was having some affairs, and you didn't hear about that. Then how about Jimmy Carter? How many scandals in that guy? Heck, Jimmy Carter now is defending Donald Trump, saying he's getting beat up by the media unfairly. That's another story. So where are those scandals? I don't remember. My liberal friends, I'm not pointing at you, Pat, but they'd say, well, that was before Fox News. Fox News wasn't around then. All right, fine. So we'll just say Fox News created everything. So Fox News. So that was when the Clintons were there. In many ways, Fox News was a response to all the stuff coming from Arkansas and all this crap that was happening, and it wasn't being covered. In many ways, Fox News is a product of the mainstream media not covering the Clintons. They kind of created Fox News in a way. So now all of a sudden, Fox is there, and Clinton scandal. I mean, how many scandals were there? There was the drug running in Arkansas. We could keep going. There's Paula Jones. There was the travel gate. There was like I said, Whitewater, the McDougalls, Vince Foster. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And then she leaves, right? Supposedly they leave, and then even when they left, they were selling out the Chinese bed to the Chinese, right? The White House Lincoln bedroom, right? That was the precursor to the Clinton Foundation of selling things out for money. So you saw the patterns. When they left, they even took the furniture, for God's sake. I mean, this is a pattern with these people. And then they go, and then what happens? Do we hear about any more scandals? How about John Kerry? Any scandals of John Kerry? I mean, there was that thing with, what's his name, Dan Rather, and this kind of stuff. But, I mean, where are the scandals? Where's all this stuff with John Kerry?
You mean John Kerry and the Swift Boat liars? Yeah.
But where are these giant scandals that keep coming up? You don't see them really. There's politics that played. I don't like any of it. But I'm talking about these deep scandals. Where are they? I mean, how come there's all these other politicians? You don't see people in jail. You don't see people dead, and with suicide with a gunshot to the back of their head, but by suicide. How many people around Clinton all have gunshot wounds to the back of the head, and it was all suicide, or there was a cop? I mean, these are facts.
Arkansas-sided.
So this keeps Arkansas-sided. You get 10% every time. So this is the type of thing that's been going on. So then Hillary Clinton is not, right, she's gone, the Clintons are gone, and we don't hear any scandals about Democrats. And then all of a sudden she's senator. And there was some stuff as senator, not too much in New York, but then again, I don't live in New York. She was building up the cred there, even though she really wasn't a New Yorker in the first place. Then all of a sudden, she runs for president. And by the way, there was a few scandals along the way too. One involved Stan Lee. There was that whole convention. Remember that giant thing she put on, the fundraiser that all these people got pulled into? Watch Hilary the movie if you guys want to see the whole train of this. But Dick Morris, many of the Democrats that worked for her, all turned on her. And we're going to talk about that in a second when I get to antisocial. That's a pattern of antisocial behavior, is that the closest people to you are the ones that you burn. You see, if you're a sociopath, you don't care. You have no soul. What you do is you take advantage of the people closest to you. If you're just an a-hole, so to speak, and you're just a bad guy, but you're not a sociopath, you will screw people over that you don't know. It's kind of like how many people cut people off of the highway when you don't know who they are. Actually, I don't do that, but I know people who do, and they'll do that. If you don't see them. But if all of a sudden you find out that it's your mom or a friend, all of a sudden you might let them in, right? That's just being an a-hole. That's different than a sociopath will often let the people far away do their stuff because they pull them in. It's the people that are closest that they wait and they build up and they suck whatever they can from them, and then they stab them in the back and slit it when they're not looking. That's what they do, which is why Donald Trump, as an example, I'm not trying to bring him up with this, has plenty of friends. Hillary Clinton doesn't. And you find that that sociopaths don't have many friends or long-term friends. They grind through them very quick. So these are all patterns that you see. But anyway, so then she's a Secretary of State, right? Secretary of State. Of all the cabinet members that Barack Obama had, of all of them, what were the scandals of Barack Obama? Where were the scandals? I mean, there's scandals like the FBI thing, the IRS, and we can talk about some of them. But I mean, real scandals at the Clintons, that impeachment level scandals. What was with Obama? Nothing. Okay? And let's be honest, he put us in more debt than every president before him. And I'm not letting George W. off the hook either, by the way, because he did it before Obama did. But let's just think about this over. If President Clinton, if he was just beat up on because of a right-wing conspiracy, we just hate him because he's a Democrat, we got to stop him. Well, he supposedly balanced the budget, and he's a good old white boy. And, you know, I'm a Trump supporter because, you know, I love those white people, right? Because obviously I'm a racist. So now Barack Obama puts us in more debt than anyone, and he's not a white man, right? So if you thought Fox News was going to go after the Clintons, they should go steroids after Barack Obama.
Yes.
You see my point? Where was all of those conspiracies made up against Barack Obama? None of them. We fought him over a few things. Nothing like the Clintons. And the biggest scandal that happened during the Obama administration was Benghazi, which involved Hillary Clinton. There she is again. It's like, there's that newsman again. There he is. Every time we turn around, there she is. And my liberal friends can never seem to connect the dots with this. It's like she keeps showing up. Then when they decide to run her for president...
back again.
Yeah. And then they decide to run her for president. And the biggest question I had was, if you really want to win, do you think she's the best candidate to run? Even if you liberals love her, but you know, there's so much animosity. She's so tainted. There's plenty of other candidates. Is she the best really that you have? And with liberals constantly turning their head when she smashes phones and deletes emails and they do nothing about it? Like, there comes a point where people like me just stop listening because the corruption is so overwhelming,
Yes.
you can't handle it.
Yes.
And so you sit back and go, if you're going to run someone, why run that? Even though the corruption's there, run someone else. But the reason they ran her, and the liberals couldn't even understand it themselves, now they're seeing it, is because she owned the DNC as well. She stole it from everyone.
Yes.
So this is where I ask my liberal friends. I say, if you don't believe that she'd sell out Republicans and she wouldn't screw over and make up the dossier, and she's lying about the Republicans, well, she wouldn't do that because she's an American and she's a poor victim woman. You know, she wouldn't do anything like that. She's a nice person. Okay, well, how about, and you're not going to believe she'd sell out America, right? Like Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation and all the things. Oh, no, she wouldn't do that. She's an American. You're a conspirator. Well, here's the question I ask. If you're not going to believe that she'll sell out America or Republicans, the question I have, and Pat, I have to ask you this, if you're not going to believe that, then seriously, now that you realize this thing with the DNC, you realize that she has, and it's proven, has sold out her own people. So if she's going to sell out her own people, her own Democrats, the people that supported her, that gave her money and put signs up, if she's going to lie and backstab your own people in your own house, then how can you then say, but she didn't backstab everyone else? Because if you can steal from your own family, then it's nothing to steal from someone you don't know and do crimes to someone you don't know. That is the point.
Yes.
Yeah,
Phranq,
right? Yeah,
can I respond to that?
To that one point, yeah. Because at the end, I don't mind. I'll give you the
You
mic.
try and wrap it up in 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll do it in 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's fine. Go.
I never supported Hillary Clinton. Not because of the fact that she was just a corporate stooge, but because she did not stand up for the women that Bill Clinton raped and tried to rape. I gotta hit the bathroom, but please.
You won't miss much. It's all right. All right. We'll see. Wait, I'm gonna take questions. Let me finish up this part here. Now I'm gonna talk about with antisocial. But before I do, I want him back here. But Ted Koppel, I was thinking about him. He knows how to take on sociopaths. I love Ted Koppel. My mother's here, and she created a monster with me because they had a rule in the house. Because I was like a lot of little kids, I wanted to stay up late. I didn't want to go to bed. And my mom and my dad, I think it was my mom, she said that, well, if I stay up and I watch the news, I can stay up as long as I want, as long as I watch something educational. So Ted Koppel was the last guy. So I love Ted Koppel. So all of a sudden I became a Koppel guy. And I do really respect Ted Koppel. And it's a shame because about a year ago or whatever it was, you guys remember that Ted Koppel was interviewed by Sean Hannity and said that he was ashamed that Sean Hannity was bad for America. Do you guys remember that? That was a really tough, and you could see the pain, the hurt, honestly, on Sean Hannity's face. I'd feel the same way. You may not always agree on politics, but someone like Ted Koppel, I had a lot of respect for. I still do, but I think he's drinking the Kool-Aid so much, he can't even see it. And that should show you how far down this rabbit hole that we are. When someone like Ted Koppel is so blinded and that can't even see the lies in his own industry. So, anyway, I want to talk now, in the time I have left, about antisocial. I think this is probably, I hope to be the most interesting part of this, because we can talk the scandals, and you guys know a lot of them. Do you guys know what a sociopath is? I mean, you've heard the term. Someone tell me what a sociopath is.
Somebody that takes on a role, imaginary role, to keep the other person nearby happy. They have no values. They have no identity.
They have no empathy.
They have no empathy. They have none. And yeah, and so technically a sociopath is known. Let me tell you a little background of this, because guys, this,
Let me add just one other thing.
Sure.
I got this from a sociopath.
You got what?
I got this from a CIA-connected sociopath. They don't feel emotions.
Yes.
They are so detached, they do not feel our emotions.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about MRI brain scans to talk about that. So I really know this topic more than you guys. I mean, I know prostate cancer, I know about antisocial quite a bit, and I don't, you know, it's a deep thing. The problem is when you bring up and you say someone's a sociopath, the other side, they just kind of go, oh, you're just saying it like it's just a name of calling someone, you know, yo mama. And that's not what it is. So antisocial is, here's what's scary, guys. It makes up, it was discovered, or diagnosed, I should say, in 1971. It took years to even figure it out, because they're so clever, you don't even know that they're there. You know how we started to figure them out, and we're figuring it out a lot more now? Is because of technology. You see, sociopaths work off of playing everyone off of each other. So they will go and say something to Ernie, and then say the opposite over here, and then you can't connect the dots, because if you say, well, you told Ernie that, they'll say, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And the one thing they'll never do is allow everyone to get together in one group, because then you can cross-examine. They don't want that. So it's not until recent times, with tape recordings, with files, with emails, that now there's records. And that's why sociopaths are starting to be discovered more and more. Famous sociopaths now, I hate to go and finish, there's plenty of them out there. Yes. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is antisocial. Trust me on that one. Who else? Lance Armstrong. If you guys want to know, and I say this to my friend here too, because the minute you bring up Hillary Clinton, the brain turns off. You know, just because we've been conditioned. No, she didn't do it. It's a conspiracy. So let's talk. You got to talk and look at sociopaths in other groups, and then you start to see the patterns. One of my best friends back home, his name's Rich, and he liked to drink alcohol before he was 21, like a lot of people, and like a lot of people who didn't have a lot of money, he bought peach schnapps, and he drank. Oh. I know, he drank. Oh. And one time I had a drink with him. We went to a fancy bar, and it was a real fancy drink. He took one sip, and he ran to the bathroom, and he threw up. And I said, "What happened?" He goes, "I didn't know there was peach schnapps in there. There was like 2 drops." I said, "What's the big deal?" He goes, "Well." He goes, in college, I OD'd on peach schnapps. I vomited for a whole week. I was never sicker in my life. And if he just has one drop, his body literally responds. You guys kind of know what I'm talking about. Maybe not peach schnapps. But when you've been burnt by something bad enough, and my family and my friends have been, that's why I know a lot about this. I'm not going to go into personal stuff. But when you have, it's like peach schnapps. You can smell them. You can see it. And it's like just an alarm bell. You can tell.
Isn't that called sauce béarnaise syndrome, where you smell something that made you sick before, and all of a sudden...
It might be. I don't know if that could be. It's not a nice French term, so yeah. So this is the thing that happens. So Lance Armstrong, I highly recommend. There's a movie, the documentary on Netflix, I think it's about Lance Armstrong, and all the people around him, all his best friends, wives, everyone, he's torched. He would put packets of information on people's cars and lies. He would tank you. He would destroy you if you did anything in his little circle. And he could lie. And what always bothered people is how he could lie right to your face. People who were their best friends and family couldn't believe that this person can do that. Like, it's in the movies. It doesn't happen in real life. So sociopaths make up, here's what's scary, guys. These people make up 4% of the population, we believe. 4%. That's 1 out of 25 people that you know, that you've run into. are sociopaths. Now, that means one of you. No, I'm just. Actually, the reality is, and I mean this sincerely, probably not in this group, because sociopaths don't get involved in things like this. There's also certain professions that they focus in.
Oh, yeah.
One is called crime, and that's why prison populations have higher ones.
And another category, politicians.
Exactly.
Yes.
Politicians are up there. And here's the thing to think about professions, is that these are people that always want dominance over someone else at all costs. It doesn't matter, whether you are aware of it or not. They
Harvey
want,
Weinstein.
yeah, they want dominance so much, guys, and they lie so effortlessly that they could lie, and I mean this sincerely. If you had chocolate ice cream, if a sociopath had chocolate, and you ask them, well, what did you eat? They'll say, I had vanilla ice cream. Now, there's no reason, like, what's the big deal? Chocolate, vanilla, who cares? It's the fact that they had chocolate, they told you vanilla, and you didn't know. And for that, they get that little rush. It's like a little bump, like I'm here and I pushed you down in my mind. I have dominance over you. Even something as trivial. And that's why sociopaths will lie about so many little things. And normally they don't get caught. But that's what goes on. So this thing builds. Anyway, with this 4%, 1 out of 25, but this dominance makes them go into professions where they're dominant over other people. So doing charity work is not really for a sociopath. They will be in politics, the ultimate be dominance. Military, snipers. The military actually looks for antisocial behavior because they can sit there with no emotion and just wait and breathe, and because they're not wigged out that they're about to kill somebody in the head, or a woman or a child. They just, okay, like that.
Here, here.
Clergy, people who go in religion, many of them are antisocial. I'm not saying they're all pedophiles and all that kind of stuff. It's just that they're in dominance. Some of them, I won't mention names, some of them you see on TV, these evangelists, some of them often probably are. They're in many fields that you don't know. Medicine, actually. They can be in medicine. And that's the other kicker. They're like a functional alcoholic. And this is different than a psychopath. Okay, very important difference. Psychopaths, okay, those guys were diagnosed a long time ago. Sociopaths are like a hidden version of it. So they often say psychopaths do the killing. Sociopaths make a killing. Because they're the ones that hide right in plain sight, and they will screw you and take everything from you. The people that work in the boiler rooms in New York City, who call up old ladies and screw them over all their money, their nest egg. I mean, what kind of person can do that? These are the type of sociopaths. They will do anything to make money. Sound familiar by a certain female candidate for president? Okay, anything to get it and to push other people down. So that 4%, now how's their brain work? And some of you already said this, they don't have any emotion, they have no soul. And it sounds like that's another ad hominem attack, but I mean that. They can lie so effortlessly, they can pass lie detector tests. They can pass them. Now what's interesting, if you corner them enough, sometimes if you get them and you start trapping them, they have, and you can look this up by the way. But there is a book, if you guys are interested in any of this, it's even a book on tape, you can hear it on YouTube. It's a very famous book in this field, it's called The Sociopath Next Door. The Sociopath, check that out. It's not political or anything about it. You can really get a sense of this. But they can pass lie detector tests. There's nothing that, they can, anyway, I went off topic there. But as far as their brain, when they have no soul, it means that they have no compassion, it's not there. But yet, they act like they do. Look at Bill Cosby. You can't imagine how could he be a sociopath? Right? How could he be a sociopath? He is, because it's about dominance. He could get any woman in the world he wants. But if you have a woman, what they want is someone that's already taken. Because if you have someone who's gorgeous and single, they'll take the one that's not, just because they're taking it from someone else. You see? So for Bill Cosby, he can get any woman he wants, but that's not what he wants. He wants someone that he can't have. And he's taking it from someone else's virginity, someone else's, a wife that might be that when she was trying to be an actress and he just drugged her and maybe she, whatever it is. That's why they do these sorts of things. Lance Armstrong, the same thing. When you put him in an MRI machine, and I found this fascinating, in an MRI, they would flash pictures of images. When you look at a normal person, and they would show rainbows and unicorns and whatever, the pleasure center of the brain would light up, okay? they would show sociopaths, and by the way, these were diagnosed from prison. They got them from prison populations who got good time, to be part of the study, because sociopaths would never volunteer in such a study, by the way. But anyway, trust me, that's just also part. They refuse psychologists. They hate hypnotists. They hate magic tricks, because anything that plays with their mind, they get wigged out, and they feel that they could be found out. And if you push them against the wall, guess what happens? It's famous. You can see Hillary Clinton do this and some others. And Bill Cosby, it's called the sociopath stare. And if you watch carefully, you can see where the eyes go, like this strange, like boggly eyes. We see Hillary Clinton sometimes do that, but other sociopaths do that. It's called the sociopath stare. So it's one of the ways, if you know what you're looking for, you can see it. But anyway, they would show pictures in MRI, and with, and I'm getting towards the end because I know we're probably a little over time here, but when they show good things to a sociopath, you can imagine the pleasure center, nothing lights up. No surprise in this room, I'm sure. Okay, what else? When you show images of someone suffering, people dying, people crying, okay, they'd show like bad things, for the normal person, a different part of the brain lights up for empathy, okay? Now, sociopath, guess what happens?
No empathy.
No empathy, nothing lights up at all. Even the pleasure center, because you would assume, that part, empathy doesn't light up, but the pleasure center does. No, that's my point. They have no pleasure. They have nothing. They're void. But the kicker on those MRI scans, the part of the brain that lights up is the part for strategy, chess playing. That's the part that lights up. Seriously. So when they see someone suffering, the part lights up of how can I take advantage of this? How can I? And what is the famous line you hear from the the Clintons? Never let a bad tragedy go to waste, right? I mean, that's kind of like, and I'm not saying the Republicans may not do that either. I don't want to get into that tit for tat thing, but that's the mindset of sociopaths. Is that you take advantage of this kind of thing and you manipulate. They also tend to go with people that are nice people. And this is why, and I say this as a compliment to my liberal friends here, is that, liberals, they tend to act more on their heart. Maybe not, I'm not saying they're stupid or anything, but just, critical thinking is a little different. They're more emotional with things. And that type of person is who sociopaths go after, because the critical thinking is not as much to be able to read between what they're playing, because they're like a master chess player. So if you're playing chess, you want someone that's also like a critical, like chess player like that. So they tend not to like to be around people like that. They try to separate from those kind of people. But they surround themselves with people with good intentions who just they oh yeah, and Bill Cosby and the rest of them. They have friends around them. But then they will use you. They know that you probably won't get caught or found out. And if they do, or when you don't, or you're not helping them anymore, or you've run out of your utility, then they will just like that. And if you want to learn about those people involved, Hilary the movie goes through that. And Hilary the movie is not about Republicans bashing Clinton. Those are Democrats that have worked with her for the last 30 years. Leon Panetta, some people around him. You've got, what's the other guy? Dick Morris, I mentioned. Remember Dick Morris? He was the head guy. He's sitting there. All these people, the person who worked at the the travel office, every president worked with him, and how his whole reputation was tanked. I mean, his daughter, almost committed suicide because of the train wreck of the reputation. Anyway, I don't keep going. I can go all day with Hillary Clinton with it. This is not, again, trying to bash Hillary, okay? It's too easy just to do that all day. But I'm trying to bring out a deeper issue, because this country is about to learn what antisocial is. Because it's not just Hillary. A lot of these stories of Bill Cosby, of Harvey Weinstein, he's one as well, trust me. So all these people are coming out, and the average American's going, wait a minute, I thought they were a good guy. I thought I knew him. Mr. Joe Pudding Pop. Like, how can that person do X, Y, Z? I believe that in order for this country to go forward, we're going to have to really start addressing this type of condition, and that they're all around. I really believe it's going to be tough.
And they're first to say that Donald's crazy.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. That's the other one. Sociopaths, what they do is they always blame the other side of what they do.
Yes.
So they do X, and then they do the opposite. You guys watch Walking Dead? Maybe not. Okay. So a sociopath, what they'll do is, this is like Ernie.
Anybody know what Walking Dead is?
It's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Democrats. Anyway, but what happens is that Ernie and I are best friends, all right? And we're walking down the street. And then all of a sudden, we're friends for how many years? And when he's lost his utility to me, you know, and I got all his Bitcoin or whatever I did to him, and I go, hey, Ernie, hey, look over there. What's that? And he goes, what? And I go, bam! And I just slam him, and then he's on the ground, and I'm kicking him. And this is where I'm not kidding here. He could be best man at my wedding. And bam, and I kick the hell out of him, make sure no one's around. I take his wallet, do whatever I'm going to do from him, and then I take off. Now, he is on the ground. I'm not being funny about this. He's on the ground going, what the hell happened? He's bloody. First of all, he's in pain. But second of all, his best friend just did this to him. Like, you can't even conceive it. And then you're in denial. You're like, what did I do to deserve it? Because you can't believe, think of whoever your best friend is, and they did that to you. Now, while you're still in shock, and you probably don't want to, you think, I'm going to go tell all my friends. But you really don't. It's like being raped. Because you don't, like, if your best friend or your father or someone rapes you or something, you don't just run out and just advertise it. You're still trying to process it. The sociopath is not processing anything. And so what they do is, and there was a scene in Walking Dead that he did just this, but many people do this. They will then go, before you get a chance to decompress and start to talk to people, they will then go to a tree and start banging their head against the tree, so it's all bloody. And then they go and they run around to all of your mutual friends or business associates or whatever, and they say, I'll sit there and go, look what Ernie did to me. Ernie beat the hell out of me. Oh my God. He starts crying, and all this fake emotion comes because they can fake it really well. And so all of a sudden, now everyone, it's like, Ernie, stop beating your wife. Or like, stop raping that person. And of course, everyone turns, and you know that whole bit. Now you're on the defensive. And as I just said, stop beating your wife, and everyone turns, then I'm sitting there doing this. They're classic at this misdirection. And that's what this whole Russia thing is as well. She's got this whole uranium thing. You guys already know the setup that they did to make sure she won. Everything from the DNC, the Fusion GPS, the Teneo. I mean, it goes on and on, changing the Senate rules. Everything was ready for her to take over. And when it didn't, now the whole Russian deal, what does she cry? Russians over there. For 8 years, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were in office. Where were the Russians for 8 years? If they were in charge, they were in charge. They were head of security. She's Secretary of State. If the Russians are such a threat, how come they just showed up the minute Donald Trump won the election? I mean, it's just like, it's unbelievable. But that's the bait and switch. Look, over there. And then she's all acts bloody and cries, and her emotional people who are good people, my liberal friends, good people, they're believing it. They believe this conspiracy, and they hate and race and pedophilia. Everything. Trump's like the Antichrist all of a sudden. Because you have to pile on. Once you slam them, you just do this until it's submission. And then what happens, they go, in the last point, they go so over the top that they do something that's so over the top, and I say this with respect to my friend here, is that the people around them won't believe it. Because you go, well, that's in the movies. That doesn't happen. Like your friend or your husband or Bill Cosby. We all know Bill Cosby. He can't do that. And they take advantage that they do things so over the top that no one would believe it. And then they accuse the other side. All those women, they're all trying to take me down because they don't like black people or whatever it is. And they make these, and that's how they hide sometimes, is the audacity of their crimes, because the people around can't believe it. That happens in the movies, not there. No, it's not in the movies. Those movies are based off of real life, and these people exist. So the very last thing is, I've had debates with libertarians about what do you do with these people. I'm going to say something very controversial, and maybe I will admit I'm too close to it. You can tell I've been around, I know this stuff. I think, and Ernie and I have a lot of arguments, those of you who listen to the show, and he still wants everyone to be, leave me alone, I want my damn chickens, and he wants his little thing, utopia, and a lot of you want your anarchy, libertarian. I'm not in that camp anymore after I understood antisocial, and I'll tell you why. Because these people are evil, they will take whatever you have, and in my opinion, and it's possible, that the majority of the biggest traumas, wars, and everything in history have something to do with them, because they've always been around. All right? And if that's the case, what if, with all the genes and all the things we're doing with DNA sequencing, what if and when we discover the gene, the sequence for antisocial? It's a dangerous slope about eugenics, especially for libertarians. But I'll tell you what, I would almost make up the argument that if we could, as a human species, agree to take out that one, that push that line of eugenics for that one thing, take out that gene of sociopathy. I'm not saying we're not going to have bad people and people make mistakes. There's always going to be crimes, whatever. But that is the genesis, I believe, of the deepest evil that humanity's ever had. And if we take that out, then he can have his damn chickens and have his little thing and not worry about Negan or some other, hombre that's going to come and take everything he wants without even a care in the world. Rape his women, sit there and take all his food, because that's what they'll do without police, which I know all of us are all fans of police, I know. But you see my point. So that might be... Is that the NSA? Is it coming after me? So anyway, so basically I'm done. That, to me, could be the quid pro quo that this country, that our humanity will eventually face. But I just hope, like the movie Rain Man first exposed what autism is. No one really knew what it was, and then after Rain Man started coming out, I think and I hope that this experience that this country is going to go through, when all these scandals start dropping in Hollywood, over here and over here, you can't keep track of them, and then you start looking at, Lance and other celebrities. Who are these people? I thought they were one of us. I think that's going to be the answer, and as a country, maybe Oprah will do a special on it or something. Then it becomes real. We can have a real discussion of how humanity can evolve. Anyway, thanks for your time with that, and I still want to hear from
Okay,
Pat.
what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and do Pat first, then we'll do questions, because if we do questions, we'll never get to Pat. Okay. My response to this is that there is always going to be bad people. You may be able to recognize them, and through genetics or whatever. My thing is the non-aggression principle. Is there some standard by which you can judge who the good or bad people are? So I make it real simple. The ones that won't leave me alone. I don't care why you won't leave me alone. I don't care what your motivation is. I don't care how crazy you are. If we start genetically and Gattaca-izing and, the CRISPR gene editing, if we can do, because what we want to take out, well, obviously this is bad, they're going to claim the exact same authority for what's making you good. And who gets to decide? Government?
Sociopaths.
Yeah, sociopaths. I'm going... this is, man, that's not a slippery slope, that's a cliff, okay? So I'm going, no. It's not that I don't, that's why I enjoy him talking about this, because I think he's right. If you're old enough and you've gone through this, you can see patterns, and you go, when he started describing, I'm going, yeah, this is definitely, he's made a powerful argument, especially when you think back in your life and you see this. Family members, politicians, and more politicians, and a couple more politicians. So the thing is what my solution, I don't grant anyone authority over my life. That includes sociopaths, and not sociopaths. So it doesn't mean that I don't recognize this or don't see it as a threat. It's that I'm not looking to empower sociopaths with more power to try and fix it for me. I go, that is the first problem. So that's where we may disagree on methods here. But because of technology and information, we get this and we can make decisions on who we do or do not associate with and who we disassociate with. The power of association. So we may understand the solution is different. When you do get too close, we need somebody to fix it. Well, I'm always about bringing it down to the individual, and not sending the sociopathic mandatory youth indoctrination camps. And sociopathic, you're under our rule of you got to get a license. And sociopathic central banking, and sociopathic war state, and sociopathic, and all these things that they go on. And I see this every day, Pat. Every day I look at the news and what they're going, I'm going, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? That's piddly ass. Who gives a shit? And we're at war. I go, where the hell is it? Freaking all the anti-war stuff during the Obama administration. After they promised me they're going to not do it. Same thing with Trump. Trump's out there laying waste to something. So all these guys are poxing all their houses.
Here.
So I don't care. And then of course what we knew that they were doing a lot of this crap. It's now coming out. And the solution. Special prosecutor that was the head of the FBI during Bush and Obama, is going to come out and he's going to fix it for us. Oh, yeah. While he was the one that was doing blah, 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 blah. I'm not really confident that, what you think is going to happen or should happen is ever going to happen. It is not that. This is why, and I am so adamant about this, and when I go to these conferences and I speak at these things, I keep focusing more and more on this one concept. Public opinion. Just a general consensus of what should be. These politicians are the first to run in front of a parade that's being created by the people. Yeah, I'm for, freedom and what? Yeah, freedom and shit. I can spell L-I-B-E, libertarian. I mean, it's just, oh, you guys are like this, and then we'll get to questions. I had Alan Corwin was at a discussion group that we did talking about copyright. His whole thing is if I think of it, it's mine, it's my property, you can't build on this idea that I built on somebody else's idea. And I wrote it down first and on paper, and I got the idea, and you can't have the idea. I go, you don't want me to have the idea, build on the idea, don't tell me your idea. Because I'm not going to take a spoon and dig out of my cortex, whatever your freaking part of your idea was, for new ideas, and that's some bullshit, okay? So when he was preparing for this presentation, he obviously did our research to try and slap around libertarians. Well, he came across Stephen Kinsella, which is another Mises guy, with Ron Paul, Lou Rockwell, Jeff Dice, Bob Murphy, Tom Woods, all these kind of guys. So Stephen Kinsella, I've had on a few times, met at different festivals, and had him on years ago where he would talk about intellectual property and invention and patents. That's all bullshit. That all came from the king, granting monopoly of blah, blah, blah. So Alan kind of got convinced on that, but he's still holding on. I'm an author and songwriter and copyright. I got to have copyright. That then changes from, 7. It was supposed to be originally, the country came when they recognized it. It was 7 years that you had an apprentice, and then an additional 7 years after that, so he couldn't go rip you off right away. So it's kind of a 14-year thing. Now it keeps expanding and expanding because of Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse has copyrighted the life of the creator plus, I think, 70 years. And it'll be 100 and a billion and whatever. Well, it gets to the point where half the population's in China and they all get Mickey Moused up and didn't pay no royalty, and screw you, now what? So that's what this TPP was about. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, part of that, they got in there to try and get Asia, China, all these people to recognize copyright for the record industry, for videotapes. So they were pirating and everything. That's why, I pirate that. Screw you, I don't give a shit what your permission slip says or something. It is ones and zeros come out of my head, and I share, I buy, and there's nothing you can do about it. So Stephen Kinsella and Alan Corwin came on the show Friday and debated for 2 hours, all right? It was, blood on the walls kind of thing. And Alan did the best he could, but Stephen is just like, wow, just so this is, and it's already starting to shoot up, in popularity of that show, and I knew it would. It is a concept that we keep thinking government's going to solve these problems that we have, and they use government, these sociopaths, to do what they want in the name of an emotional response. It's always a social justice excuse of we need to level the playing field of whatever the hell it is at the expense of the autonomy of the individual. If we focus on that, all this other crap takes care of itself. But today is the day. Scream! It's kind of a Klingon thing. Ah! Here we come.
Yeah, I gotta check that.
All right? So this is all about just, why? Because it's a year from the election. Was that like now or something, this weekend or whatever? Yeah. So they're just going, oh, we're going to get some. Who are these people? You know what's going on. I guarantee what's going on, and I don't even know. Project Veritas, these young kids are going in with their hidden video, and they're going and talking to all the heads of the New York Times and the editorial board of the Facebook and the Googles and whatever, and they know what's in CNN, and they know what's going on inside. And I guarantee they're infiltrating these Antifa, different rallies and so on, and you get on Facebook pictures of them arriving at the same event with the, white supremacist guy and the Antifa guy on the same bus to go out, and we got a conflict, and you're going to see it on the news tonight. And this guy said this and ran over that, and we got a bus and a semi and plowed through and the whatever. I'm going, don't go. Had Donna calling Luke Radowski and Lauren, what's her face, Tim Pacho's girlfriend, the cute blonde up there, kind of the right. So he's like, these people, I meet with them, talk to them. We saw them at Aspen recently, so Tim was all, trans with that, got that picture. So this is where they go. They go and they sit, and then they start talking. He's libertarian, she was right wing, and they started dating or becoming a couple or got, and understood it. They started to see the pattern of this is just manufactured. It's all just so we can get the Civil War, to justify a coup. They already have in their minds months ago, years ago, they were, hell no, this won't stand and Trump is not going to, thinking that they were going to give, just like they do for elections, you're not the crazy one. You may know, but 92.6% of all your neighbors are the morons that voted for and did the bad thing. They just have to convince you that everybody else is stupid. I don't think they are. I think it's, the more and more they're getting this stuff, and even someone like Pat, I know you're going to come up and do whatever kind of justification, that's cool, but I go, Pat, I've known you a long time. After a while, man, this stuff builds up. Holy shit. I was holy shit in the 90s. I was going, holy crap. There's gridlock in Washington. Good. Hooray for gridlock. They just saved us a shitload of money. They got rid of the gridlock, and the Bush and Obama administration on the same page, and they kept the same Secretary of Defense. What the hell did that tell you? We going to war. We're going to spend us some money. Now we're in debt like you wouldn't believe. What does Trump say? Yeah, screw the debt ceiling. Now we don't even have it anymore. We're going to do whatever's going to happen. We're going to do it. So who's his new, Fed chair? They, them, those, or somebody kind of low rates that were screwed even more. It is not going to get fixed the way you think it will. It will collapse. It can't not. Buy a couple of Bitcoin. FYI. All right, so let's go ahead and do questions. Gary.
Pat was going first, right?
Oh, yeah. Pat.
Come on up.
How much time were you going to give Doug?
Doug?
Or which one was the other one supposed to be?
No, nice try.
How much time were you going to give the other guy?
I don't know, whatever you get, half hour, 40 minutes, something.
Okay, how much time do I get?
5.
You're lucky you get a syllable. You were not planned on the thing. You get to say whatever you got to say, but how long are you going to need to say what you want? You going to read that whole thing?
Time's
All
up.
right. People, has anybody got to go?
No, I wanted to make a clarification about the hardware wallets.
Go. Well, what the hell does that have to do with it? No, we'll do that. Don't get off on. No, we're not going to do that right now. We can do that. It has nothing to do. I know you got to say it, but you can wait till you got to say it, okay? Let's get through this. All right, Pat, go. Oh, yeah, Pat Schwind, our resident liberal. All right, go.
A lot of you people know me for a long time.
Stay on mic.
I bet.
On the mic.
Mike, Pat, thank you.
I bet I've been to more of these meetings than virtually anybody here, except for, of course, Ernie, Donna, Phranq, maybe a couple of other people. And I'm really glad that Keith Cernick is here. I was really hoping that Keith McKinney was going to be here, because he and I agree on a lot of stuff. Les Landon there and I agree on a lot of stuff. Most of the time, much of the time over the years, I have really not come across as infuriated as I felt inside after being ridiculed so many times by people who don't really know me. They hear one or two things that I say, and then all of a sudden they put me in this little box. Well, let me give you a little background on me. When I'm in my car, I listen to rock and roll about 50% of the time. I listen to NPR about 30% of the time. I listen to KTAR about 20% of the time. The other day, it was the day before Donna Brazil's book was being talked about on the news. I think I was the 10th or 11th person that signed up for the 10th Amendment banquet that's December the 15th.
Second Amendment.
Was that?
Second Amendment.
Bill of Rights Day.
Bill of Rights.
It's a Bill of Rights thing.
Yeah, but the group that's putting it on is the 10th Amendment Center.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that?
Anyway, and they asked for comments. And I basically said, I'm a hardcore atheist, lefty, but I vote third party a lot. Like for Obama's second try, I voted straight libertarian party, including Michael Kielski. At the state level, the legislature, I voted for Democrats. I voted third party a lot as a protest. I voted for Jill Stein. I wanted Bernie Sanders to be the guy. Way before Hilary stole the thing, I was trashing her something ferocious. Both Bill and Hillary Clinton should be hanging from piano wire on their tippy toes for what they have done to this country. And I don't care who knows that I feel this way. This gentleman, where is he, dude? I guess he's gone by now. But he has ridiculed me umpteen times over the years. Just this morning...
You and everybody else.
I can take it. Ridiculed me and implied that I don't really have any intelligence. Oh, yeah? Well, we heard a lot about Charlottesville recently. I graduated from the University of Virginia with distinction, with a degree in economics. I graduated from the ASU MBA program with a specialization in finance. Back in the days when you actually had to do homework, take tests, and write papers instead of this online bullshit, pardon my language, where anybody can get their girlfriend to go online and do it for them. And I know of a specific situation where that happened, where somebody got an online MBA, did absolutely no freaking work. I passed my Series 1 securities exam the first time I took it, which about maybe 10, maybe 15% of the people do. I took the Mensa test cold, right off the street with no watch. And the proctor never said 5 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, anything like that. And I missed being a Mensa by like 2 IQ points. My point being is that I'm not some freaking bumpkin idiot that just pulls stuff out of my butt. I research a lot of stuff, and I know most of the time what I'm talking about. I was the first liberal that I know that said impeach Bill Clinton as soon as the media showed that film that said, I did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. I was the youngest of 12 kids. 3 of my siblings went in the Navy, 2 in the Air Force, 1 in the Army, 1 in the convent, 1 in the cemetery. 1 became a radiology technician. 2 of them died young. I made a verbal commitment my junior year of high school, spring of my junior year of high school, to go to the Great Lakes Electronics School in the Navy. Nothing in writing, but I took their test. They told me I could do any job they had except 2. There was like, I don't know, 180, 200 jobs they had available in the Navy. They said I could do all but 2 of them. And I said, well, why can't I do those 2? And they said, because you'd get bored. I'm sorry I missed the last 2 meetings. In September, I missed it because a brother of mine, who agrees with most of you people on stuff, he died in Baltimore. I don't fly anymore because I'm a man of principle, and I don't support the TSA and all that bullshit, which is a result of 9/11, which was an inside job. I'd have laid down in the street and died for my brother if he told me a good enough story. And we didn't agree on hardly anything politically. I missed a meeting last month because on September the 25th, I had hip surgery. I had a hip replaced in 2005, the left one. September the 25th, I had what's called a drill and fill, where instead of dislocating the hip and doing something to the top like a replacement, they go in at an angle about like that far on me and about as big around as my little finger, and they pump in a combination of stem cells and plastic to support the top of the ball, which was disintegrating. I was feeling pretty bad for about a week. When I had the hip replaced, I was feeling pretty bad for about a month, maybe 5 or 6 weeks. Well, 11 days later, it was a Friday, and I wanted to go out and do a little shopping. And I had an alumni function to go to that night that I really wanted to go to, really wanted to go to bad, at a gate in a 5,000 plus square foot house worth $2.5 million. That's what came up on the info. And I just wanted directions. I just wanted directions to get there. Got all this information about local real estate, which I didn't really care about. In a gated community. I wanted to make sure I was going to be able to go to that party that night. These are amazing freaking parties. So, that day I'm at Fry's at Main and Alma School Road. And I hear something weird. Like a guy trying to walk out with a 12-pack of Coke that he obviously didn't pay for. I was right there by the flower department, doors right there. And I just thought something's wrong here. I followed the guy, and I'm limping around, okay? He goes through the door, and you hear, buh, buh, buh. Attention all associates, looks like somebody's trying to steal something. So I follow him out, and real quick, he's trying to get his bike unlocked. So, I didn't let that happen. And there's 7 or 8 people standing around, looking, taking pictures of this. I yelled for my buddy Guillermo at the other entrance to get down here. Got the guy's trying to boost something. The guy's the smallest guy I ever fought in my life. Okay, probably 120-pound tweaker. Next smallest guy I ever fought in my life was like 25 years ago. A teenager, about 125 pounds, knocked me out of the ring at my boxing club. So the guy dropped the Coke, dropped his bicycle. Finally, there's like a dozen people there standing there. I'm yelling, call the police. Finally, a manager comes down and screams, let him go, let him go. A couple seconds before that, some unrelated third-party thief runs up, steals the guy's bicycle and rides off. True story. I let the guy go. He takes off. Please come, I talk to him. 10 minutes later, they had the guy in the parking lot. That's what kind of a guy I am. I voted for Bill Clinton twice, as I said when Phranq brought the subject up. Before I found out that, yes, he did rape Juanita Broadwick and probably some other women. I feel that most Zionist stooges are right-wing nuts. But there are plenty of them on the left. Like Bill Maher, Keith Olbermann. Rachel Maddow. And now, even people that I really respect, or used to respect in some ways, like Van Johnson, Mark Cuban, they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. When they go on TV, they don't touch it with a 10-foot pole, because they've been gotten to. I'm not a Democrat. Most Democrats are spineless freaking wimps. I'm a liberal. The reason that Democrats get crushed over and over and over again because they don't have enough people like me that are willing to stand up and physically fight if we have to for what we believe in. Russ Wittenberg, friend of mine. I'm in Russ's house. Beautiful house. I was in one time for a little reading meeting. Russ, he wanted to show the original birth of a nation like it was a good thing. Racists think the original birth of a nation was something good. And Russ, you're a Holocaust denier too. I don't deny the Holocaust. I debated a Holocaust denier at my strategic edge group. Some of you people were there. I studied for about a year and a half for that because I couldn't find a Jew that would stand up to a Holocaust denier. An academic denier that has facts and figures. And if you don't know your stuff, especially on about 6 points, they will make you look like a flippin' idiot. He didn't make me look like an idiot because I knew what I was talking about. I studied the subject intensely. When Obama took Ernie, somebody, I don't know, it was Ernie or Phranq mentioned that Obama put us, or had the worst deficits in history. When Obama took office, he inherited an annual deficit from Bush of $1.4 trillion a year. Not the total debt. I'm talking about just the annual deficit. $1.4 trillion a year. When Obama left office, that annual deficit was $0.4 trillion a year. I am very disappointed in the left because of their lack of spine. As a matter of fact, I despise and sometimes even outright hate people, both on the right and left. I try not to hate because it releases too much cortisol and it's not good in the long run. But I don't expect to live that long anyway because I have a genetic defect. My arteries clog up. Not because of my lifestyle. I got a great lifestyle, almost a vegetarian, exercise like a maniac, okay? But I mouth off to the wrong people, especially in traffic, all the time, routinely, okay? See, I don't give a shit about that part of my language, okay? One group of people that I can't stand most of the time are cops. Cops, okay? Not because any one individual cop goes out and brutalizes or murders somebody. Because they all know other cops who do. And they never, ever, ever come forward unless they're turning state's evidence to get a better deal.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you were around at Breakfast Club, probably 10, 12 years ago, when we met at the buffet on Scottsdale Road by McDowell or something like that. And there was a gentleman there. Was it?
Hometown buffet.
Hometown, okay. There was a gentleman there who spent 28 years with the Delaware State Police. His last 18 years there, he was the head martial arts instructor for Delaware State Police. He said he couldn't wait to retire and get the hell out of there because the recruits, you remember that? You remember that? The recruits coming in, they didn't want to lose weight, they didn't want to run, they didn't want to train, drill, exercise, do any of that. They didn't want to stretch, okay? All they wanted to do was learn a few moves to beat the living daylights out of people. He said, quote, it wasn't one. In general, in America, when we talk about the police, people always say, well, it's one bad apple that makes the barrel look bad. No. He said it's the other way around. There's one good cop in a barrel among a bunch of rotten apples today. And that was like 10, 12 years ago. I was at a fight in Las Vegas 20, 25 years ago. 20 years ago. One of my good friends since committed suicide. Scott Walker, one of my sparring partners. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., one of the baddest men on the planet at the time. All of a sudden, Mike Tyson showed up. The rapist, Mike Tyson, even though he was acquitted or paid, I don't know how much money, like Michael Jackson did, so he got out of it easy. I could not believe all of the women that were literally crawling all over each other to get to Mike Tyson. I was disgusted. I don't go to parties too much because I don't get invited to a lot of parties. Once in a while I do. And if the music being played is Michael Jackson, I'll go up to the host and I say, isn't that Michael Jackson? Oh yeah, Michael Jackson. And I'll say something like, wasn't he a child molester? Well, yeah, but he's a brilliant, brilliant musician. And I'll say, tell you what, man, I really like you, but you play another Michael Jackson tune, me and my wife, we're freaking out of here. Because I have principles.
You didn't invite a lot of parties, dude?
Here I do. I get invited to a lot of parties. I love these parties, man. And they go until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
We need some Pat entertainment.
Can't stay up that late.
Okay.
Get to your point, Pat.
Get to my point.
Uh-oh, he just got... Yeah, we're wasting long. There's a point, right?
If anybody wants to leave, hey, go ahead.
I got a button.
The Grandma Just button.
I'm going to give you some examples why when Mr.
Butthead,
whatever his name is, said that I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not intelligent, there's no such thing as white privilege. No such thing as white privilege. If you don't live in a lead-lined cave, you have to know that there's an epidemic of mass incarceration in America. And most of the people being incarcerated, they're brown people. One of the big reasons is that most cops are white, most prosecutors are white, most judges are white, and so many white people in power, they hate brown people. I'm not going to bore you with the statistics, but it's a fact that for two people of equal background, economically, socially, committed the same exact crime, same record. If one of them's black and one of them's white, the black person is indicted like 2.5 times as often. And their sentences are usually 1.5 to 2 times as long if there's a conviction. Just last night, I watched an old This Week with John, what's his face from used to be on the Daily Show. No, John Oliver. And the big topic was how our criminal justice or injustice system relies upon junk science to throw people in jail over and over again. And a lot of these people, they die. They die from either old age or the death penalty. And then we find out, oh, they're really innocent. One of the people that's really leading the charge for mass incarceration is Jeff Sessions. Good friend of mine from college. He's now one of the top scientists in the statistics department at Duke University. I visited him very briefly, spent the night at his house, him and his wife. Gotta see his house. When I went back to Baltimore for my brother's funeral. He was in Tempe about 12, 15 years ago, giving a talk at the Tempe Palms Ballroom. He had 450 of the top forensic investigators in America. And he told them basically that when it comes to ballistics, so much of the so-called science that they use in ballistics to try to convict people, it's junk. It's absolute junk. John Oliver was talking about the same thing last night, and how so many prosecutors say things like, well, to some expert witness who isn't an expert at all. Well, within a reasonable degree of specificity, would you say that this hair was connected to this guy, or this bite mark was connected to this guy? There are thousands of innocent people, maybe 100,000 people that are in jail in America today for crimes they never committed. For instance, the bite mark analysis. Does anybody here know who Ray Crone was?
Saber-toothed killer.
The saber-toothed killer. He was the number 100th person released from death row by DNA evidence. I met the man personally. One of my heroes. Does anybody know who Kurt Bloodsworth is? Kurt Bloodsworth was the first man to ever get off a death row because of DNA. I'm from Baltimore. He's from Cambridge, Maryland, fisherman. He was a 70-71 U.S. Marine Corps discus champ. Never had more than a speeding ticket in his whole life. Spent years in prison. America is a racist, xenophobic, misogynistic, homophobic country. And if you don't think so, you're really not searching for truth.
Then why do the people from Africa and
Latin
America want to come here?
Hold on, Les. I like you, Les, but hold on, buddy. I don't have much time.
Why do they want to come here?
No, you don't. You get 5 minutes to finish up, man.
Okay.
You went way long.
Almost every day, some citizen films a cop beating somebody unjustly, murdering people unjustly, planting evidence on people. Like that guy in North Charleston who was shuffling away from the cop. The cop put 8 bullets in his back when he was like 100 feet away, and then ran up and threw the taser down. That's what the boys in blue do over and over again, especially in the Confederacy, because most of those cops, they hate brown people. Most white folks deny white privilege. They just sweep slavery and Jim Crow right under the rug, as they do with Ronnie Reagan and Joe Biden's crack cocaine laws. Almost done. Oh, in defense of you, Russ, I studied the Holocaust intensely for a year. It wasn't 6 million Jews that got killed. It was about 5 million. And that magic number of 6 million, when you ask somebody, well, where did the 6 million come from? They usually say, well, everybody knows that. Well, where did it come from, okay? I know where it came from, and I know it's not accurate. I mentioned that I don't like cops. There's other people I don't like, or I'm very disappointed in. I'm very disappointed in brown folks. Seems like they always have plenty of time, plenty of money for the concert, the fights, the tats, the cigarettes. But when it comes to... Please don't say they're lazy, whoever said that.
No, I said that's a lazy chicken. He didn't fly down. He was going, anyway, sorry.
Keith! Where have you been, my brother?
You're lucky you missed it all.
A little rough, man, but you're here now, so I'm feeling better. Okay. There's an election in Virginia in a couple of days, few days. And it's an off-year election. For governor. So the Democrats probably going to lose. Because so many Democrats are lazy. Lazy! The right-wingers, they're not. They're ready to freaking die right freaking here. If they're in good enough shape.
It's good. It's so...
So anything about Antifa today or Trump?
I'm getting criticized. I'm getting criticized because I believe that Antifa and Black Lives Matter are great organizations because they stand up for what's right.
How about George?
We don't.
On record.
We treat women like crap in this thing. We ridicule the Islamic nations most of the time. Ridicule, but you know, their cultures, like back from the Dark Ages. I think women are, you know, worth a little bit less or more than a
Saudi women can drive now. They're free.
FGM, don't forget FGM, Pat.
I've known a lot of you for a long time. Most of the people in this crowd, they won't give Muslims a break. They could be the best Muslim in the whole world in terms of civility, modernity, progress. Most of the people in this room, on this porch, they wouldn't give Muslims a break at all. At all. Just ridicule them. Most people in this room, they don't think women should have, a lot of them, they don't think that women should have control of their own body. The gentleman I was referring to earlier, he thinks I'm a freaking idiot. I think that his brain is in a religious box. His brain is in a prison of religion. The root of all evil is not money or lack thereof or greed. It's strong religious convictions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. for introducing yourself. I'm glad you did. I appreciate it.
That was good.
You
I got a question. Pat, you
Well, I
know,
wanted the wallet guy. Okay, he left. Good. One less thing I gotta do. The
Here I am.
There he is. Okay, do the. Well, no, we're gonna questions. Well, both have a seat. No, for Pat, sit in that chair, please. Okay, you come up, do your hardware wallet thing. You got 35.6 seconds. Go.
All right. So what Phranq passed around was a more durable version of writing your crypto key on paper. There are also more intelligent electronic gadgets that you can buy that make it easier to spend Bitcoin in a really secure way. And those are called the Trezor and the Ledger Nano S. And those are the two that are recommended by a cryptocurrency newsletter that I subscribe to.
Okay. I have the Ledger Nano S sitting in there. We're going to set it up. Derek has the Trezor. Phranq is going, yeah? How's that work? You know, I got a steel thing. So that's why we're doing it. Yes, sir, it does make it easier and so on. But, you know, even Derek has the steel wallet. He's got buried in Maine under the tree of, in the crook of it grew around of whatever. I mean, you know, so you're thinking 20 years in the future, electronics, it may be more convenient and it does the same thing. But it's electronics, you know, it's kind of, so that's the difference. So he's right. You can do it a lot easier. And we had that board is me and Phranq going through about how this works and whatever.
Volume a little lower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so when I was at the radio stations, you'd see the slide the control board guy had, and it was everybody else, and it had literally marked in masking tape Ernie. And it was like way down here. Okay, go ahead and comments and questions, and we'll let both of them do it, and they can just grab well, you got the camera here. You guys come up here and do the mic or whatever. All right, Mike, go real quick.
Okay, I got one for Pat and one for Phranq. Real quick. Pat,
Go.
Pat, it's like we've got all this propagandizing, constantly churning and going, making gross generalizations. Americans this, Americans that, America.
All white people.
And I've got one response to that. Fuck all of you. I'm not any of those things. And most of these people, in most regards of what you are describing as misogynistic, racist, bigoted, and so forth, are not that either. We got to get rid of these gross overload generalizations. These are all propaganda types.
Okay, and Phranq. Okay, no, I'm hip. And the Phranq's question?
Okay. Other than that, Pat, I really enjoyed your. I just don't want to.
Other than that, Mr. Blanket,
I just hate it. Is it the? Are you familiar with the hippocampus, or is it the hypothalamus that's responsible for the emotional response?
Hippocampus.
Hippocampus. Okay.
She's the smart dog.
That's the key. That's the key to the sociopath and the psychopath, right there. And the second key is this: there's a book by the name of Buck, who was a doctor at the turn of the last century. Remarkably scientific work trying to analyze what consciousness and higher consciousness and superconsciousness is all about. And he used a statistical approach, and he analyzed the incidence of colorblindness in the human species.
Skip to the end, man. Just go.
Okay, this is the end. It's that this faculty of the emotional response is probably nascent evolutionarily. In other words, the sociopath is way back and should have become obsolete evolutionarily.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I had a debate with a libertarian out here some time ago, and, you know, I understand it's a dangerous thing talking about eugenics. Again, maybe I'm a little too close to it. But it is interesting from an evolutionary standpoint because they're here for a reason, just like homosexuality. I mean, it's in every culture. It's not just because of Teletubbies. You know, we see it in the animal kingdom as well. So the question is, why or how would homosexuality evolve? Like, how does it get into the gene pool? How does it stay? And that's another debate or discussion. The same thing with sociopathy is it's here. It's 4% everywhere you go. Why? There has to be a competitive advantage to having a virus in your society. What role do they play? I don't want to get into it right now, but it's a good point. But no, it's a fair point to say, yeah.
Dr. Phranq, I want to thank you for a fabulous presentation.
Thank you.
Absolutely one of the best I've ever heard. Because there's been so much of it, is this a cycle or a thing called projection? You know what projection is, where you accuse everybody else of what you're doing yourself.
Right.
Is that a psychosis, or is that a thing by itself, or is that part of a psychopath?
Well, that can be used in other areas. It's not just psychopath, sociopath. Yeah, it's projection. It could just be your own view of reality. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but a sociopath just clearly, it's not just projection because they have a mental issue, all right? But to them it's just all strategy. They do it. It's just made you look over there, and it's interesting. What's his famous line? Aside from I don't care, skip to the end, but if they can, they will. I think I have like a calendar of all the Ernie phrases, but one he says is made you look, and that's actually what they do. So that's on purpose. What you're talking about is more of like a psychosis where some people have it. Another question?
Yeah, it's not a question, it's a comment. But you were talking about going in there for the best of intentions, we're going to modify these genes.
Right.
I'd refer you back to the movie Serenity and the planet Miranda. That's exactly what they were doing. They were pumping serotonin reuptake inhibitors into the atmosphere to make people better. And then part of them responded differently, and that's where the Reavers came from. I like the captain's line when he said, I don't go along with government trying to make people better, I aim to misbehave. And as soon as you step in and try to make people better, that's where the horrors come in. Whether it's in Russia,
I know.
Germany.
I'm being fair up front. I'm a physician. I'm the last thing, and a libertarian phissician, to even be thinking about it. But it's something I've wrestled with. I don't say that easily. It's when you start to recognize it, and you start looking through history, and then you see it around you because of technology, you're starting to see them pop up, and you go, my God, maybe this is why. And we're all libertarian friends here. Maybe this is why we need laws. It's to protect ourselves from these monsters that are there. But I know it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, they're the ones making the laws, so that's the problem.
No, it is, and that's the thing. Is that when is it? And I don't know. Should it be like with black people who've dealt with racism and they start calling the shots? Is the people who've dealt with these people? But then at the same time, you get too close to it, and I'll admit I am. So you have to. It's a touchy thing, and I can respect that. I'm just saying, I hope that the average person, see, right now it's either you've been affected from it and when you identify it and you do the peach schnapps, it's like everyone else peach schnapps, you don't even notice it, but when you have it, you notice it. I think it has to get to a point where everyone starts to be able to identify at least peach schnapps. Maybe you don't get sick from it, but once we all can identify it, then we can have an honest discussion about what is this amongst us.
Okay, this is the point I want to make, is that it's 4%. A couple hundred years ago, 20,000 years ago, it could have been 60%. I mean, that could have been the way. They're all Klingons, and what I get more, and you have the rape and pillage of, and they're not us, and they don't have red Viking beards, so they're just subhuman of whatever the hell. So it could be rapidly getting less, I'm hoping. Maybe. But if I make it a government program, it's going to either get more, or you're going to emphasize something else for the collective of the rats being controlled in the best way of Big Bubba Equilibrium, the lions coming in two hands of blue, 2 by 2, come and take you for the service of the man. So I think the best thing that Phranq has done is to have us recognize it so that we can see it, so that the women aren't, creating babies and passing on the genes of scumbag, So I'm looking for the freedom of maybe an individual wants to change. I remember an episode of House. I really liked House. I'll get to you in a second, Mike. An episode of House, they had some brain thing, they're doing a scan, and they looked at it, and what you're talking about, they go, she has no empathy. She's a sociopath. And she's going to marry this guy and take advantage of this young guy and do. But there was something, it was a accident as a child or something, and they could fix it. So all of a sudden they do it, boom, now she's got empathy, and she had enough empathy to tell the guy she's going to marry that, they'll screw you and I don't want and everything. So she had the empathy to tell him she was a sociopath when now she wasn't, So this is, I can see that these people are dangerous. We should be aware. much have they done for us? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe they're just parasitic. But you do not want to give government, this is why we need government, to protect us against sociopaths. Hell, that's the excuse they gave before. It's just in the form of armies, or it was a dictator, or it was inbred monarch of whatever the hell, you know? No, my knee-jerk default reaction is because of these people and because of these problems, you don't want to have collective power because that's exactly where they go.
Okay, well, one option could be when the free market takes this, and this, of course, it's an ethical dilemma, like Gattaca. We've all seen Gattaca, I hope, in this room, okay? So you start to get to that question of, you know, can you choose what eye color? Do you want to choose how smart your kid is or how athletic? I mean, first it's going to be, but the first part is, do we start taking away diseases? Now, I have Tourette's syndrome myself. And that's one of those things that you wonder, you know, if I could design my baby, if there's one thing I could do, can I take away Tourette's? Can I take away blindness, deafness? Because after all, what good is being deaf? But then again, the deaf community say, well, they use sign language. They have a culture. So, I mean, you start going down this slippery slope, and I'm the first to admit it, but if we look at this as a pathology, if we say, okay, if you have cardiomyopathy, well, that's something you don't want your child to have. Will we decide, for instance, that we can select out things that are detrimental and have a multiple personality disorder? If we know that do you want your child to have that? Or
the parent or the individual or a government?
The parent, which is the free market, not the government. So therefore, if we can identify the code, then if I was able to say, okay, what are the pathologies? I don't want Tourette's because there's no benefit, you know, except, you know, if I get pulled over by the cops, I can say F you, and then I get out of jail, you know, so I can get away with that. But anyway, that's a Tourette's joke. But anyway, yeah, exactly. Anyway, but the point is that aside there's no benefit to Tourette's, at least in theory, and then we start selecting this out, and you say, okay, this person has antisocial. What's the benefit? Do I want a child I'm going to put all my resources into who's going to backstab me? He's going to steal from me. He's going to be in detention, deal with the cops. Their entire life, they're going to be a drain and steal from everyone around. I'm going to lose friends, the whole thing. I want to select it out. So if I have that option, it's still a slippery slope, of course, but at least it's not the government making that decision. Yeah.
Can you, Phranq, can you be a narcissist and not be a sociopath? Or
yes, Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I think Donald Trump's probably a narcissist, and I'm not. Which is why, real quick, I'll let you finish with that. I mean, look. In order to become president, there's got to be something wrong with you anyway. In order to get to that point. But the thing is, again, it's interesting how this the sociopath that accuses Trump of being the sociopath. That one drove me crazy when we had debates about this during the campaign, because she's the sociopath. But the thing is that he's got his own issues. I mean, he's got germaphobe and narcissist, probably OCD. He's got, he's not perfect, clearly. But no, it's a good point, but it's separate. What was the other part of your question?
Well, I was just wondering because most politicians, I think, are narcissists of some sort.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I think there's very few that are not narcissists. I mean,
it's true, but here's the kicker, is that narcissists are a whole different story. A sociopath can't be a narcissist because they're a whole different breed. Matter of fact, a real similar thing, and this is tangential, is that, I don't know if you guys, I'm a Star Wars fan, and they talk about the Sith, and there's only two. There can only be two, because there's the leader Sith, like the Emperor, and there's Darth Vader. And always happens is the Padawan is the one that kills the other ones. In other words, you can't have more top evil people because they kill each other. And the same thing with sociopathy, and you guys might disagree with me. I've wrestled this for a long time. Bill Clinton has a lot of problems. I don't believe he's as antisocial. I mean, he's a criminal and everything else, but you cannot be married. You can't. Too antisocial, it's like two magnets like this, they just go like this. Now you surround yourself with antisocial, and I'm not saying Bill Clinton's not, but I kind of think he's not, but you surround yourself with them. So you have Harvey Weinstein, you have all these people around that tend to be these, like the pedestrian, I'm not saying pedestrian sociopath, but you tend to attract a lot of these people. So like I often say about the sexual thing, they say Trump's the sexual predator, but yet how many sexual predators do you guys know? Hillary Clinton's married to one. Then she's got what's his name? They're showing his Wiener, who's sitting there showing off his penis to everybody.
Like that's a hard
and
name
he's
to
sitting
remember.
there, yeah, Wiener, exactly. he's sending out his penis to everybody, trying to run, and that guy's a nut job, sexual predator. And then her best friend are the Weinsteins, right? I mean, you start to ask who's around this person. How many? I don't know, many sexual predators, and Hillary Clinton's surrounded by them. They're most closest people to her because criminals like to be they'll be protected by larger criminals.
Yeah, one more.
Go ahead.
Just briefly, can you tell us again the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath? Because it seems like these two groups are running the entire country.
Yeah, well, not really psychopaths. Psychopaths tend to be in jail. I'll give you an example of the two. So think of a sociopath as like a weaker version of a psychopath. Okay, it's like a diluted version of it. Now, is it the same thing but lesser, or are they two separate? That's kind of debated amongst like what is there a difference. But let me give you an example.
Can it be both?
No.
Okay.
No. And yeah, that's a good point. But I don't, from what I understand, no. I already gave you the example of the one does the killing. So if one does the killing, it's obvious. It's like Manson or something. Of course, Manson had other people killed for him, right? But I mean, he was probably a sociopath. He could have been the sociopath actually, because they convince other people around them to do bad things. They have to get. They're charged. This is the thing. Sociopaths, and we may not say this about Hillary Clinton.
They learn to be charming.
They learn to be charming. They're extremely charming. Just that's what throws people off. Because like, how could that person do all this stuff? And here, this is interesting. How do they learn to be so charming if they have no emotions? And they learn to adapt because they learn this like to be a chameleon. And I read it in that book, matter of a couple of these books, but one of them is Sociopath Next Door. They talked about it, where if you go to your office and there's like my child here, the baby, right? And I bring the baby, and they all want to see baby pictures, To me, they all look alike, like little tiny aliens. But whatever, They all like to look at baby. We're guys, but it's like, and what do? You show the baby picture, and everyone goes, oh, this and that, and that's what you do, right? Well, imagine you're a sociopath. Oh, she's over there, yeah. But what if you have a sociopath and you're and you don't know you are? See, the kicker is when you have antisocial, no one's telling you what you are. You've just learned maybe that you're different. You kind of know you're a bad person, but you don't really know why. Because that's the thing. From their point of view, they don't understand who they are either. So you go to an office and everyone goes, oh, well, you start to learn that that's what you're supposed to be doing. So they act just like, they go, oh, isn't that a nice baby? And they learn to fit in. The thing is, they lie. Everything about them is a lie. See, when you have no emotions, it's extremely easy to lie. Like, I'm not a liar, so if you ask me what I ate and I lie to you, I'm going to look away, I'm going to do whatever. I mean, my better half already knows that about me. If she tries to catch me in a fidget, she'll like come after me because she's like a lie detector. But the thing is that I can't, it's not me, most of us can. But when you have no conscience, then you can lie right to the face and not see it. And so therefore you become a very good actor, Kevin Spacey. You become a very good actor because you can just change in your brain whatever you need, because there's no soul inside of you that you have to work around to be something else. You're like a blank slate. And that's the part of the brain. That's what's so hard for people to relate to. Yeah.
I got a question. You keep referring to it as a genetic disposition. Isn't a great deal of this learned behavior?
No. Sociopathy is not. Now the question is it genetic, or is it what's called epigenetic? And epigenetic is sort of changes that can occur. A matter of fact, this was debated back in the day about this guy Lamarck. He used to say that giraffes had long necks because they would just keep stretching their neck and then it would grow, and that would turn out was not true. Matter of fact, in genetics class, you learn Mendel was right, Lamarck was wrong. That just because you stretch your neck doesn't mean you start to pass that on. It turns out in modern medicine, he was a bit right. It turns out if you have like extra stress, if women are stressed during pregnancy, you see an increased rate in homosexuality. And we can reproduce this. Yeah, the offspring. They become homosexual. Matter of fact, this is proven. They did this with rat studies. They took rats and they would put them in different categories. And then the female rats that are pregnant, normal, whatever, it was like 5, whatever normal is for that group, 5% are homosexual, like mounting behavior of male rats on male rats. Then they took another group and they would shock them. Like they would just like shock the poor, I guess this is an old study. They probably wouldn't do it today, right? Yeah. But anyway, they shocked the female pregnant rats, and the mounting behavior was like 24% or something. It was like a much higher percent reproducible. So then, and you guys don't love this. Then they said, well, how can we figure out if this applies to human beings? Well, they basically took a bunch of female. What they did was they looked at history. They wanted to find a point where women were fine, and then all of a sudden massive stress, and then see if it changed. And what they did, they looked at Polish women before and after the invasion of the Nazis. Because there was no Nazi invasion for anywhere. No one thought about the Nazis really. I mean, Chamberlain should have paid attention. That's another story. But the thing is, you have all these Polish people, everything's fine. Nazis come in, bam, just out of the blue, took over the place. It turns out, as adults, that they looked 9 months from the day this whole cohort of people were born, they became adults. The homosexuality rate went up. So that's an example of epigenetics that does occur. So obviously what we do in our bodies can influence the genetic outcome. Hence, there's thoughts about sociopathy, and this is still debated. Remember, we're trying to figure this out. Trying to find the people to do research on is impossible, because unless they're in prison, they're never going to be part. They never want to be exposed. So that's the trick. But we do think that maybe if they have a stressful upbringing, maybe you're in the womb, or I think one theory is that abandonment issues, like mother abandonment, or if the woman's an alcoholic or something like that, that might trigger it when they're young. So there might be a point to it. Yeah.
Has there ever been any studies that show the relationship between food, like say the GMO food and the chemicals in the food? We probably all have a disposition to something, but we can control it genetically or whatever. I mean, obviously, if you eat too much, you're going to get fat or you're going to get diabetic. There's all kinds of diseases. We know that. I think that's pretty much medically proven. Has there anybody done any study? I've heard there has been, but I don't know of any, where the food that you take in can exacerbate an already existing condition that's been held in check, that's in abeyance?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of things. I mean, cancer is one of them.
Yeah.
Inflammation. If you eat inflammatory foods, inflammation, your acidity goes up, acidity level goes up, or technically down, the pH goes down, right. But then you become acidic, and then your body's inflamed. When you become inflamed, and the pH is off, your immune system, the enzymatic activity in your body works best at a pH of 7.
So that could.
So if you become acidic, any of you become acidic, the enzymes begin to slow down. It's like taking insects, and you put them in your freezer, and they start to slow down. So that's why your immune system gets sluggish when you have high levels of stress.
It could affect the brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But mainly we think it is hardwired, because when you see homosexuality, you see in every country, every culture, the same kind of rate. Then that becomes more of a nature. It doesn't mean there's not nurture overtones to it. So it's both. That's why this debate goes on, because it is both. We can argue with both sides. But when you have 4% of the, I didn't say U.S. population, I said the human population that we know of. We haven't checked every country yet, but the ones that we've been doing it, mainly European nations. People like in the Middle East aren't really part of the sociopath study. But in time, maybe it will. But everywhere we look, it's about 4%.
Yeah, Doris Rapp had brought that up to me.
Doris Rapp, yeah.
Yeah, she had brought that up, that how food can exacerbate
and environmental toxins, of course.
Environmental toxins and so on. So I was wondering if they've done anything on that on the brain.
One thing I want to put up on this is that how would environmental concerns propagate into greater survivability of a species? Okay, you have something, you got the fish living in the toxic pond of the algae, whatever the hell over here. Which ones are going to survive and pass it on, that kind of thing. Well, one thing that you find out, it's the women are born with the eggs that are pretty much set throughout their life, but the male sperm changes. It's whatever stresses we have or what are environmental concerns, that may be the change in the fertilization that you get a little bit of deviation from whatever the hell based on environment. Then the environment, through the placenta, what goes to the child, the emotions of, the stress, all the blah, 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 blah. So there are mechanisms for us to benefit from this. How does that, see you guys later. So how does that, perpetuate these different traits? I don't know. My only defense is to understand it. These eugenic programs and everything, they want to control it. It's always, you hear me on the show, I'll say, they got dial switches and knobs. They want to turn, they want to control something. I don't want them to control it.
Even for the good, it's always for your good. It's always because they love you. It's always for the benefit of humanity. It's always, because they love you, and it's always for the children. Okay? So I am like, I don't want them turning dials. Leave it alone. Let me know what it is. I will prepare as an individual.
Isn't this eugenics debate about 80 years too late?
Yeah.
I remember 20 years the Breakfast Club talking the Russian experiments and stuff. I mean, whatever's, you're like trying to shut the barn door after the horses are all out. If they're not doing it here, which I don't trust our government, the Chinese are way, into this stuff.
Oh, no. Russia has already came out and says he wants soldiers with extra physical abilities and no fear or empathy. They're programming, they're growing, stormtroopers.
Winter soldiers.
Isn't that exactly what MK Ultra was doing? Breaking people down
and building them back up.
And building them up as sociopaths?
Well, you can't. Well, I see your point. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it's not something that you can implant things just like if you have a serious trauma, PTSD, this kind of thing. You can be changed, but the antisocial I'm talking about, it seems to be a hardwired thing. You can affect it further. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever took the Myers-Briggs test. I highly recommend if you have. The Myers-Briggs, you're set, I'm an INTJ. Well, as a matter of fact, a lot of us tend to be in this field. So I'm an INTJ.
Which is?
Crazy, yeah. Anyway, an INTJ, well, I'll talk to you afterwards with that, but an INTJ is my base. But the first one, I or E, introvert, extrovert. How many people think I'm an introvert, right? I mean, I don't come off as an introvert, and I am an introvert. Just ask my family; they see me when I'm really an introvert. But you learn to adapt, and that's the thing. You learn to evolve. So you have your It's like your cards, like poker. Here's your hand, and then it's what you do with the hand as through life goes on, and that's how we learn to adapt.
And I'm the extrovert.
Yeah, he's the E version of actually. He's an ENTJ actually. Yeah.
Shut.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that there are facts, in evidence that support some of the things that you said relative to Trump and Hillary and the whole Russiagate thing. In that, I believe it was the Podesta emails as early as late 2015. They had outlined a strategy that if they are going to wind up facing Trump, which I think at that time they thought was an unlikely outcome, that this would be the way to deal with it. And then they had the Russia strategy lined out then, because this is the way we'll approach it. And my first recollection that they used it, or that it started becoming publicly aware, was I can remember in September of 2016 at a family meal with the family for my mom's birthday. For somehow we've got to talk about politics, and that subject came up, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I'm not a Trump fan at all, and I'm like, give me a break.
Well, the thing, I echoed it earlier, but I really believe that when I think the day of reckoning is going to be, and if I'm on record, I'm not calling for violence. Sorry, all you liberals out there. Sorry, Pat. By the way, I appreciate that. I respected his point when he said there's a difference between being liberal and Democrat, so thank you. But I have to say, when Miss Clinton passes on and goes off to heaven, when that day happens, that is going to be a fascinating day, because as much as many people are going to be spilling the beans now when they crosshairs investigations on them, when she passes away, imagine all the people who know that the Wicked Witch is gone, and everyone starts talking. All the cowards are going to start coming. George Stephanopoulos, remember, he was the whole campaign manager of the Clintons all that time. He left. He's got a sweet deal with ABC, playing David Brinkley's role, and notice he's so disconnected from the Clintons. I read his biography because I was really that curious. How could someone be that intimate with him? And then it's like, okay, he's just all separate. It's like you wouldn't even know they're linked. All these people that worked with the Clintons and have knowledge, I'm telling you, it's all going to come. It's going to be like the JFK files after the fact. And after everyone's passed and everyone stops defending her and she becomes a footnote in history to some degree, when she passes, all the stuff's going to come out. And I just hope it's out now rather than later, but you'll see the levels of what they do. Yeah.
And on your presentation, the only thing I could find to disagree with is your charitable description of the Democrat Party, because today I think the Democrats are nothing more than a crime syndicate posing as a political party.
I agree
people
now.
and Democrat Party, two different things.
Yeah. The people, see, the thing is, the people, that's the thing. The sociopaths, they bring in good people around them who don't know. They're not usually as critical thinkers. Doesn't mean they're stupid or anything. It just means they don't often, they use more their heart like their head rather than their head. That's part of the Myers-Briggs. Matter of fact, INTJ is introvert, intuitive. I'll tell you really quick. First is introvert or extrovert. Which one are you? Second one is, are you intuitive or sensing? That kind of means like if you cook, a sensing person is someone that reads the recipe like Julia Childs. 1 teaspoon of butter, and goes through the thing like that. And then, but the end, the intuition is more like the Cajun chef. Yeah, all right, a little more wine, a little of this. Okay, some of you are both. That's the N or S. The third category is thinking or feeling, and that is how do you make your decisions ultimately. It doesn't mean you're stupid. Okay, it's just, is it more with your heart or more than with your head when you ultimately make a decision? Many of us tend to be more T's because we're looking at the Constitution, or not the Constitution, but the point is we're looking at rules and regulations and how much we hate them, and because they don't follow them. But anyway, that's T and F. And most liberals tend to be more the F's. Liberals tend to be N's and F's. F's is more feeling, and intuitive is more how they, I kind of feel it. I feel it. Whereas so N and F go together like ham and cheese, right? The other one is S and T, someone that reads the directions. That's sensing, and they also tend to be very logic when they make decisions. So those two are very popular in our society. They're very common. Actors, Hollywood, tend to be intuitive and feeling. That's why they don't get locked in with dogmatism. They can just kind of I kind of feel all this. And liberal, that sounds more like a liberal, right? It's like, I'm not jumping on Pat here with this, but they tend to be more, I just don't like that, and that offends me, and I want to change that. And they don't look at the other side often. They don't see the logic. If we ban that because you don't like it, well, then we're going to ban this and this and this. Well, that's later. Well, we'll ban smoking because smoking's bad, and there's nothing good about it. Well, if you ban smoking, well, that's your private company, and then you're going to ban cologne because that offends you. You're going to ban colors. You don't like the paint. Are you going to say now ban hamburgers? Well, they'll say, well, we're not going to ban anything else, and then later on they're banning, fats, and they're banning Coca-Colas, and all the things they told us they wouldn't ban before because they don't see that far down. They think here and now. That's intuition and feeling, whether we're looking further ahead. So anyway, so what's interesting with INTJs, I don't want to make the whole thing about Myers-Briggs, is that we're one of the rare ones where we're flipped. We're an intuition, but we're also thinking. And that gives us a unique ability, because with thinking, we see things, we make decisions.
What are the options on the fourth one?
Oh, well, the fourth one is judgeful or perceptive. That one isn't, it's more of an outlier one. It's kind of like how spontaneous are you with things. And that does play in. But the core, it's called the core group, or the two in the middle. So if you're intuitive, but yet you're thinking, it's an odd combination. You know what professions they tend to go into? Or there's different professions. One of them is a judge. Lawyers tend to be S's and T's. Those are good lawyers because they sit there and, they just look at the law and boom, 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 and they try and strategize. But a judge is someone who can understand the rules, but has the intuition to rise above it if need be. And I'm not talking activist judges and all that crap. I just mean that they can see the spirit of the law, of what the intention is, and that's where that fine line is. So NTs are very unique in that regard. You also have the other flip too, where we have S and Fs, and that's another story. But we tend to be NTs and INTJs. I think, what's his name? Cody, I think Cody might be one, and Adam Kokesh, he's an INTJ. I mean, we're just riddled with them. By the way, INTJs make less, we're the rarest. We make up less than 1% of the population.
I think it's Ian.
Well, it's at the female. For men, it's INTJs. The ENFJ, I think, they're the rarest for women, so they're kind of tied on that one. Anyway, but and the irony is the INTJs are the most like not Spock, but like Walter White from Breaking Bad. You guys don't see that? Yeah. He's an INTJ. Sherlock Holmes. I mean, I know I'm talking fiction, but he's written as a character. He's an INTJ. Whereas this other one, the opposite of Sherlock Holmes, is someone that's so empathic and so, like this. That's the ENFJ, I think it is. And those are the only personality types in the Myers-Briggs that actually have like, they see spirits, and they just work so much on intuition. They just change, like, it's almost
the color of
loopy.
your aura.
Yeah, the auras and all that kind of stuff. And of course, they tend to be more liberal. That
They
way.
have, these are all varying degrees, and if you look at the question, it's like 62 questions.
It's a loaded issue.
You go -3 to +3 on your opinion or whatever. And it's just the questions are very fascinating. Well, one of the guys that was here for Adam Kokesh's deal, and they go, we know what he is, we want to see what you are, and kind of indifferent and whatever. Well, I was the same as Adam. It's like 4%, and it's called the commander. It's kind of, so that, it's kind of your, the ship kind of make it go whir thing. Well, I can see that. I understand. But they go, you're so much different than Adam. How is it that you're the same thing? And I go, years. The first default is usually the same thing, but from experience, you know not to be a dick on this or that or something. You still have the same default. You just learn to be able to get the most out of whatever, kind of, with still having that personality. So I'm going, okay, I can see that this is a thing, but I can tell that 20 years ago, I would have answered the exact same question with the same default, maybe differently. So that little bit of change made, you're 60% where you would have been at 49 over here, and it would have changed everything. So I understand the value of this, and it really does have, something behind it. It's personality traits that you go, why am I always doing this? Why does this always happen? Why do you always push away or attract or do, why? Because there's a default mechanism in what your first thing is that you say or how you think. As I get older, I'm more and more, God, you guys wouldn't believe this, tactful. And some of the things that I don't say. So I got to learn, with Donna, my wife, I'm like, I want to be able to say whatever's on my mind at that time that it's on my mind, so you know what's on my mind. I'd rather not.
How does she put up with you is what I want to know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a filter, man. I got to get the filter.
Yeah, you have to put your filters in.
Phranq, are you familiar with a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, HBO thing.
Yeah, the star Larry David, I think, is he plays a creep, but I think in his real life he probably is a creep. Yeah. And he basically just lies his way through every episode every day, and usually comes back to bite him in the butt later. Would he be in some kind of category, or is he just a liar?
Oh, I don't know. Could be. Okay. I don't know. I don't know the show.
Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it up, Mike.
I just want to point out when you talked about you've learned tact, and I can vouch for that, because when I first got involved with Ernie 25 years ago, one of the things that those of us who were close to him that worked with him said is that he lacks the tact gene, because he would just come out and say whatever in whatever setting, and that was not always a good thing. It was fine with us because we might have actually shared his opinion, but at the same
like the
time,
Democrat reporter just come up and I go, Democrat.
Guys, you know something? A point you kind of sparked my thought with this, a little bit tangential, but INTJs. It's interesting that we are known. He said that to the commander. Like, there's different subtitles for each of the 16 kinds. The one for INTJs, and I'm not saying all of you are, but I guarantee most of you are pretty close to it. The INTJ is known as the chess master. That's our moniker, because with chess, it's logic, but you also use that intuition to kind of beyond that. So the best chess, hence Sherlock Holmes, Walter White, if you watch the show. The whole show is this beautiful chess game or like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, who's also written as an INTJ. That's what? It's two chess players playing this master game. That's what INTJs do. We can see through and see all the crap. No wonder that we're all libertarians, and many of us see through the crap. And we sit back, we go, how can no one else see it? It's because we can see it with the NT component. And antisocial people repel people like us because they don't want to be around people who can call their crap out. They get very dicey and they try to keep themselves away, and it's tricky when they're at work because there's a mix of people. They try to buddy up with the feeling people and surround themselves as the good guy, and then so anyway, I think that's one of the reasons why many in our community can see through it so easily, and it's so frustrating for us. It's a personality issue.
That's a really interesting point.
I want to make this, and I'll do this publicly, just because of just years, and maybe the only person here that probably would even have an opinion might be, you know, Keith and Mike or something having experience with this, all this. I don't know what to make of, and it's a long-term experiment observation to keep track of Jeff Flake.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've experienced him for a long time. And it's a long story, and met with in the early 90s, and they wanted the Ross Perot database that we had on a thing to go, and him and Doug Weed and Sidney Hop Hay and them being database of the Republican with the Christian right, if we get more votes and get rid of Kyle, you know, Deacon C, so Kyle could come in and be in town. You know, from the beginning, Jeff was always there. He's out he's in the right place with the right people, kind of this Coke, you know, industry thing going on, Goldwater, Cato, doing kind of, and it was just, I could see the calculation and the distance. You say, man, when you got, ENTJs out there, they kind of avoid, you know, certain people, and I just never really understood, of course, like, because I was tactless, I mean, you know, Mike, you know, tested, you know, that, don't go near him. But it was just unique and different in any campaign more than any other. It's been a special vibe that I'm getting. When he announced that he wasn't going to run again, it didn't surprise me. Immediately I said, because he's going to run for president in 2020.
That's a good intuition.
And that's what he's doing. So who did I say this to first? Flake says he's not running, which started a cascade of all kinds of crap. You know, Kirsten Sinema's leaving the Congress, go run for U.S. Senate, which might have been one of the reasons why I said, it's going to be prudent at this juncture. I'll come out damaged all this Trump stuff. I'm not going to run. Kirsten Sinema leaves that open. The mayor of Phoenix wants to run for her seat, which opens up the mayor, which a bunch of city council now is going to run. It's going to be, instead of in 19, it's going to be in the 18 election cycle. And Nick Sarwark, the national chair, wants to run for mayor of Phoenix. Already raised $70,000. So I'm going, we're going to have us some fun. I called DJ Quinlan, which used to be the Democratic executive director here, and he's like raised, you know, like $60,000 they spent on trying to get Phranq on the ballot as a libertarian to go up against McCain. Then they challenged him off and all that stuff. I said, you want to do this, you come on my show. So a week ago Friday, and I said I'd call him this weekend, give him some time. We had Charles Goyette on the show. Right. Charles Goyette didn't say hell no to running for Flake's seat. Yeah. Phranq may do something. So DJ Quinlan, I sat him down and live on the radio, and I go, what shall we talk about? When I called him, he answers the phone, and I go, what shall we talk about? And he goes, yeah, this Flake thing. I go, because he's running for president in 2020. He goes, I didn't think of that. Maybe you're right. Boom, here it comes. I can feel it. There's something going on there. And it comes back to the they, them, those, and the competing powers of we rule. No, it's our turn, and we're in charge. You know, pox and all their crap, I don't care. But there are forces changing and maneuvering, and the banking system, the energy, and now you got all the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all these guys going alternative energy. If we're going to be, then you find out they were supporting the anti-nuke movement from back in the day because it competed with. I mean, all this stuff is coming out now. If you're green, you're for nuclear power. You know, I mean, it's the rubber bands in my head just break. I mean, you know, I'm just going, wow, I'm trying to wrap this jello into my cranium, and it's just getting harder all the time. You know, so finally you just learn to go to principle. Leave me aloneism. Proper roles. You know, it just makes it so much easier to see through the fog. Clearing the mind fog. When I first started doing radio in 03, that was the opening. Clear the mind fog. How do you do that? I just want you guys, I just all this stuff talking about and all the just the pings in the back of my head. Jeff Flake, keep an eye on that one. There's going to be some interesting, and this guy is really smart. They've got the manual of they picked the right guy, and some people they have their Obamas. You know, well, Jeff has been a willing part from the beginning of, and another guy that just reminds me so much like him, and his time will come. It's Tom Janney from Americans for Prosperity. I like Tom. You know, he and I are good friends. But I can just see the manipulations and the positioning of certain people state by state. And as I travel, I go, I know you're this guy. You fill this role. This is it. We're being manipulated all the time, and they're not secret about it. You know, it's just what can we recognize? So I'm glad that Phranq brought this up about the, sociopaths, the psychopaths, the differences, the traits, because these come up over and over. And we keep going, what the hell did the Clintons have on everybody? Remember when he was president? What did one of the first things that they did?
FBI.
They got all the FBI files and they brought them in. What do we got on people? Okay, Russ and Pat, and then we'll go ahead.
I have a question. It's just a yes or no answer.
No. Yes.
I have a question. Just a yes or no answer. It's for Pat. Pat, after all the dialogue and the stuff you heard today, have you changed your mind about anything? Yes or no?
Actually, I probably feel way more truly libertarian about many issues than a lot of the people that come to these meetings.
I just want a yes or no answer.
Well, life is full of grays, buddy. This is not a yes or no.
His mind's opening up a little bit.
I would say, yeah, I learned some things today. Maybe enough to change my mind on some stuff. That's why I keep coming back, is so that I learn things. One of the greatest things I ever learned here was in like 2006, 2007, something like that. Ernie said, if you're in the stock market, the plain old vanilla stock market, get the hell out because we're about to fall off a cliff. And wow, was he right, and wow, did I save a lot of money. But dumb me, when the stock market fell 50%, I was terrified, thought it was going to fall more, and didn't get back in. So I can be an idiot too, once in a while.
Yeah, this is, if you want to believe Ernie again, another kind of, here it comes again, okay? And it's going to be worse than before. But they pull crap out of their butt to be able to stop it and hold it off. Always, always, always. One more election cycle. It's all about just keeping it going. And I am like, they're going to go until they can't anymore. Will it happen before the 18 election cycle? And who will take advantage of it? It's not like they don't know. You look on Freedom's Phoenix, that's why I put so many of these stories up. It's a Zero Hedge knows. You got Miss Shedlock. You got, the different stories from, Mark Tate. Faber says, but he goes, said something about America being founded on smarter white people or something, so he's done, You got Rogers and these guys. So all the people, all the people that predicted it last time are doing it. Kyle Bass, all these guys are doing it now. It is inevitable, baked in the cake. No, they can't be right. All these guys be right again. It's just, of course it's going to happen. What are we going to do about it? This is why I'm willing to start buying more Bitcoin at $7,000 because the way these guys are acting, there is no limit to it. They'll just make it illegal. But if the technology doesn't care, in the software for cryptocurrencies it says, and insert law here on this line. They don't give a shit. It's math. And everybody keeps thinking, we'll just outlaw it. Outlaw what? Sunshine? I mean, what are you going to do? Tax it? Well, they did in Spain.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, I want to say, Pat, I hope you're recovering from your surgeries, and I've known you at many events here, and meetings, and your meetings, and you always
They always what?
You always have you're such a researcher, you claim to be, but you always have a question like, what's Agenda 21? Who are the Bilderbergs? Or who are the Rothschilds?
Yeah, we didn't even got into our Antifa protest today. What the hell?
I know.
I've known about Agenda 21 for years, and before I knew what it was, I wasn't afraid to say, what's Agenda 21? I'm not one of those people that kind of hums and haws and acts like I know something when I don't. The Rothschilds and the conspiracy of bankers and so on and so forth. I've believed in that stuff for freaking decades.
Yeah.
Before you get away, I'd like to sit down and have a serious talk with you, serious discussion, even discussion. about this whole issue of the sociopaths
Sure.
and the need of our collective defense against them.
Sure.
I'm sort of halfway between the two positions here.
I know, this is why it's good to have this conversation.
Good meeting.
Briefly, the book, The Sociopath.
Last comment.
The book Sociopath Next Door said it was like 8%. You know what the causal variations are?
I'll take a look at that. I mean, I had heard 4% from. If it's 8%, that's maybe it's a different. Maybe it's the. Remember, sociopathy is on a continuum. The last thing I wanted to say, as I guess we're signing off here, is with Hillary Clinton. I'll say actually something nice about Hillary. I'm on tape. I'm on tape, and that is, you know, so.
I'm waiting.
Kick me up. Sociopaths.
Stop by your head.
I know. Well, sociopaths come. Remember, if it's genetic, it's just like being left-handed. You have all kinds of left-handed. There's black left-handed, white left-handed. There's smart left-handed, stupid left-handed people. They become all varieties. And the same thing with antisocial. You got to keep in mind, you could be born stupid and still be a sociopath. You could be born poor and be a sociopath. But if you're born rich and there's a lot of money behind you, and if you're born brilliant and you're a sociopath, that's what makes you dangerous. And with that said, I want to give one compliment to Miss Hillary Clinton, if you're listening, Hillary. And that is, I think historically, when this comes out, we also start to realize, maybe in hindsight in history, that she's a sociopath. I think she's probably, remember, mostly men are sociopaths. Women are very rare to be a sociopath compared to men. And I would say that Hillary Clinton is probably the most successful antisocial disorder human being ever in the history of this world, because the amount of power that she's been able to do and to stay in between governor, first lady, senator, secretary of state, literally almost stole this whole nation, all of this, and she's still there. She's still running the DNC. She hasn't left yet. Wait, hold on. She has done all of this, and she's done it as a woman. And all credit, I'm not trying to, because she's a woman, but, you know, she did it with uphill against the whole, you know, male dominance, male privilege. Well, she had male privilege against. She's done it. And ultimately, guys, she's been this successful in a world with all this communication. It's one thing when you talk before there was electronics. She's doing it with video cameras and she's everything when she does come out to give a talk or to give an interview, that's why it's rare, she hides. But all these years, all the stuff she has been caught on tape and saying, well, it depends, and you mean wipe, you mean with a cloth? All the things that she's learned to do. When I watched all 11 hours of that Benghazi meeting, and you guys know if you listen to the show, I watched that 3 times. I was fascinated because I know what she is, and I'm watching how she's reacting and the stare and all this. But I tell you, I give her credit. She is brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant to be pulling this off. She's the most brilliant sociopath that I even know of, and so that's my compliment. Are we still friends? Okay, what's your question?
Do you think she'll ever end up in jail or pay the price for what?
I don't get a very nice start on that one.
Too much.
Who cares? I need a poster child. It was like I loved having Arpaio as sheriff, man. It was awesome. There's your government, you know. It was great having these guys. I go, let's vote for Bill Clinton so we can hurry up and get to a police state so we can leave. I mean, you know, I am like, these people are icons of exactly this kind of stuff. You know, so that we can learn. So I don't, because everybody goes, this is the one thing. I really got upset. We'll end on this. When Obama's birth certificate was up in the air, you know, and Trump is doing and getting kind of, and we go that was just photoshopped, that they had the layers, blah, 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 blah. They were all missing the point. I would go to conferences and they go, how come you don't cover it enough? Oh my God, you didn't cover it. I go, when this first happened a year ago, we were all over it. We did shows on it. We have Jim March, you know, that came on and showed how they did the layers and it was all crap. It was a year later when Arpaio got involved. Remember that? He's going to, you know, decertify and check, and they're not, and he's illegal or some crap like that. When Arpaio did it, all of a sudden the trolls came out of the woodwork. Freedom's Phoenix, you're not doing a good job of being covered. I go, look, we're putting it up. I'm not worshiping this issue. Where the fuck were you a year ago when we were breaking this? I go, yeah, I'm so sick of you guys. And I go, let me tell you what I hear. If Obama had the right paperwork, he would be my king. And I'm going, I don't give a shit what paperwork he got. See, I'm going, if you're thinking that if this paperwork, the birth certificate, if you then okay, then he's legitimate ruler of the country and tell me and I get in Sieg Heil and commander-in-chief of, let's go whip ass. If he had the right paperwork, well, I'm Pirate Ernie, man. Your paperwork don't mean shit, especially your government paperwork. You know, so you got to get people out of that mindset, that blue page mindset. They're looking for some authority outside of themselves to tell them if this person legitimately can rule them or not. That's what I see. Stop looking for absolution of your opinion. Stop looking for validation of whatever it is that you're doing. Stop looking for a permission slip and start being more pirate. Your brain will thank you for it. It's healthier pace.
I supposed to get last question. You, and then you, and I gave it to somebody else and never came back to it.
I'm sorry? You didn't get enough time today?
No, I didn't get enough time.
Dang. Pat, go!
Okay. You just
Frank's standing there waiting, man.
Just mentioned Tom Jenny. You like Tom Jenny? Tom Jenny came to one or two of my strategic edge meetings. Actually, I let him speak one time on some proposition he was supporting. And then I bumped into him at, I think maybe it was a John Birch meeting down at the Heritage Academy or the Schoolhouse Restaurant, something like that. And he says, Pat, I want you to get involved in our group. And I said, oh yeah? What are you supporting? And he said, Tom DeLay. Tom DeLay. Everybody remember who Tom DeLay was? He's one of the worst control freaks in the history.
Yeah, but he was their control freak.
And finally, what's Mark Barnovich?
Which one?
What is Mark Barnovich? Hey, quiet, folks. Quiet, folks.
Who basically
Hey, folks, please, we're not done. What's Mark Barnovich after?
Who's Mark?
Mark Barnovich? He
was a politician.
He was a big honcho with the Libertarian Cato or Libertarian Goldwater Institute, and then he left. Hey, please, you want to go inside?
Come on, skip to the end, Pat. Go.
I'm trying, but I can't hear.
Go. Let's go. I'm gonna turn it off.
Mark Barnovich was a honcho at the Goldwater Institute. Then all of a sudden, boom, he's with Corrections Corporation of America. You don't remember him?
No, you're assuming I pay attention to these guys. The last time we severed, kind of connections with the Goldwater Institute after John Shattuck, after nationally socializing the economy with the TARP that came in, got a senior fellowship at Goldwater Institute. And I go, what the hell was that about? He nationally socialized the economy. They go, money. Okay, I'm good. Boom, we're out.
He's now like, isn't he like Secretary of
They're all
State
bad guys.
or something?
Peace. All right, wait a minute. Frank's got to do winners.
Everybody take a deep breath. Inhale slowly. All right. I've got 2 tickets. One of the winners has already left. He checked with me before he left. These 2 I have here were drawn by our future, in about 20 years, member of the Breakfast Club. Over there on the ladies' lap. They are 251 and 250.
I've got 251.
Did you say okay, we got one of them. Hey, how about that? 250. Yeah, I'm afraid that they're probably left by now. Pick one of those out of there. You can pick your own.
You got a higher probability now.
255.
255.
Oh, here.
255? Oh, hey, we did real well. Please check in the books over there. I might mention I'm getting kind of low on any quality books. If somebody would like to donate it, I would sure appreciate it. And, if you've read it, you want to spread the good word, let's pass it on by the piece of paper and hardback books. See you guys next time. And guys, this was a good one today. Let's keep it going.
Shut this up.